Okay, I should be live. OBS was so different now. Hopefully. Let me just check. Nope. Yes, I am. Let's go. Hello. I have not done this in so long. I hope audio is good. But today, I will be going over my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, Nintendo had previously made a live stream about this over and over again, saying they will be announcing this before their end of their fiscal year, which was March, aka a month ago. So now we finally got the Direct, which I won't be going super in detail of. I have it on 50% higher speed, but I'm basically going to give my thoughts and my opinions about everything that happens throughout the trailer. Actually, we'll do 2.5 speed because I'm sure you guys have watched this already. I'm not going to go into full detail on it, but I do have a list of stuff that I would like to go over regarding everything they show here. That is why I delayed this by a few days, because we knew nothing going into this, so I wanted to wait a few days until, you know, Nintendo got their tweets out, Nintendo updated their websites, the media outlets posted about it, just so that way I had more information that I could go off of. So they start with, obviously, Mario Kart. Now, Mario Kart was for the Wii U. They had announced Mario Kart 8. It's obviously going to be the launch title. This was obvious because every game is going to have a launch title, and what better than Mario Kart, what we had for so many years, and all the DLC and whatnot. We see all the new characters. We see new designs of King Boo and Donkey Kong. I'm not going into that controversy. I actually like it. We have my new favorite character. Hold on, where are you? You can play as the cow from Moo Moo Meadows. Why is that a thing? I don't know, but it's very freaking funny. But basically, they just go into Mario Kart, and then we get the name of the game. They are no longer doing numbers. No more are we getting Mario Kart 7, Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We are getting Mario Kart World.
Hello everyone, I'm Koichi Kamoto, and I'll be one of your guides for today's Nintendo Direct. I'm the producer for Nintendo Switch 2. I'm Takuhiro Dota, the director for Nintendo Switch 2.
I don't know why the audio is also
the hardware
the same
design team for
thing.
Nintendo Switch 2. What you just saw was Mario Kart World, launching exclusively on Nintendo Switch 2. Now, what do you think this brand new Mario Kart game will be like? A brand new entry in the Mario Kart series is launching exclusively on the Nintendo Switch 2.
It's in
Welcome to this
Spanish.
vast world. Kart races are held throughout various regions that span the globe. Depending on the time of day and weather conditions, the atmosphere will change.
So, live day-night cycle, live weather interactions. This I thought was really cool. You actually drive instead of starting at a line. But we have also seen gameplay of this. Now, they are going to announce this, but I'm just going to say it now. On April 17th, so, what was that? 2 weeks ago from yesterday, they will do a Direct for this game specifically. So, keep an eye out for that, April 17th.
Everywhere in this world.
It is a open world Mario Kart game. That's why it's called World.
In the Classic Grand Prix, race through 4 courses in a bid for first place.
Obviously,
Don't skip
Grand
the
Prix
lead.
is back.
You'll also drive to the next course as part of the competition.
And obviously
With 24
makes
drivers
sense.
in each race, the most in series history, the competition is gearing up.
We do not know if this will have. They go into two more modes, but we do not know if it will be. If there will be the versus battle. We don't know if that exists from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We also don't know of any, obviously, in DLC plans. So keep in mind of that.
Introducing Knockout Tour.
Knockout Tour is the newest mode. So since there are 24 players, you are going from 6. You will drive through 6 different parts of the map. And you see here you're in 5th place, be 8th or better. And now you have 4 out of 6. Oh yeah, and 20 is the new max amount of coins.
There are multiple checkpoints along the way. If you're below the placement shown when you hit a checkpoint, you'll be eliminated. Can you make it all the way to the finish line?
So if you look here,
Show when you hit a checkpoint.
right here, so it says be 8th or better to win. You can see that these races have already gone through, and we have a charging Chuck who's about to cross, and we have, I think, this character who hasn't registered yet.
You'll be.
Yes, so Baby Rosalina did not register yet, and then Charging Chuck came through. So that means Peach, a Dolphin, and Mario did not cross, so they ended. See, 11th place, be 8th or better to win.
Be eliminated. Can you make it all the way to the finish line?
So, very interesting. And
You
free
can also
roam,
freely drive around this vast world in
which,
free roam.
come on, it's free roam. It's open
Going
world.
off-road, you can explore
It
new
makes
areas
sense.
and routes. So drive wherever your heart takes you.
Oh, and I didn't mention this before. So in previous
And
games,
wherever your heart takes you.
you would have driven underwater with a propeller on the back of the vehicle. Instead, you just become a boat. You are now no longer going underwater with a propeller. You are now transforming into an amphibious vehicle, which I think is pretty cool.
You can also go for scenic drives with friends. And even take photos together at different locations.
Going towards the children audience. And also, I did not mean to do that. Where are you?
Locations.
Here. There are also no longer gliders in the game. You select pre-equipped vehicles. You can no longer change the vehicle, the tire, and the glider, like, to create all different kinds of combos. You are selecting an individual character for an individual vehicle. There are no longer cross-picking of, you want this car with this wheel, and you can change the wheel of that car. Does that make sense? Hope my audio is fine as well. Also, rail grinding is now a thing, and wall riding is a thing, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna go into the controversy of this title right here when Direct is closer to being done.
The game launches on the same day as Nintendo Switch
But
2.
obviously,
More
launch
details about this
title.
title will be
And
shared
here's the
in the
Direct.
Mario Kart World Direct.
So,
So be on the lookout
April
for more information
17th,
in the
9 a.m. Eastern Time.
Mario Kart World launches on the same day as Nintendo Switch 2. We'll share more details in the future, so we hope you're looking forward to it. Next, we'd like to introduce some of the new features of Nintendo Switch 2.
This was
These
what
are
I
the
was
Joy-Con
looking
controllers
forward
for Switch
to.
2. And on the right Joy-Con 2.
Because what they're trying to do is they want to sell you the reason why you want to buy this console instead of not buying it. They're basically trying to sell you everything this console can do better than the original Switch and the Switch OLED model.
We've added a new C button.
Including a new button, which I'm also going to go into later in what is wrong with how it's advertised.
I still have all you guys.
Some of this is very cringe,
So quick.
but they made Discord. If you don't know what Discord is, it's basically Skype for gamers,
No.
or just the new Skype in general.
Introducing Game Chat, a new feature for Nintendo Switch 2.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hi, missed you.
With this feature, you'll be able to communicate with friends and family while playing a game.
Should we follow you?
Ugh.
Hello.
Okay.
For an adventure.
While using the Game Chat feature,
They also have a built-in mic, which I think is kind of cool, but it depends on how good the quality is of it. Also, if you notice here, where it says game card, the original lip that you'd be able to use to, like, put your finger in to, like, lift up the cartridge, that is no longer on the front. Instead, it is actually on the back of the console.
your voice is
So,
recognized by a
I don't
microphone
know
built into
how
the system.
that'll
You're
work.
so hungry, right?
You can kind of see it right there.
Alright, let's keep going. Okay.
It can pick up your speaking voice clearly, even from a distance.
Just jump on here. Alright, let's keep going. Let's make a left right here. Let's make a
When it's noisy around you, your voice will still come through clearly, letting you chat with ease.
And they somehow, I don't know how they did this, but they used some sort of AI kind of blockage of, like, ambient noise in the background, and it only, like, targets your voice. Kind of like how what the Apple AirPods would do, where it would kind of, like, block out your surroundings, like how they did it in that trailer.
I'm gonna have my boat. Okay, nice.
It does look good, folks. Okay.
And you can use this feature in handheld mode too.
See? I don't know if you can see it, but right there, that's where the original lip is. Or that's where the new lip is for you to open up the
Letting you
cartridge
easily
bay.
chat with friends and family. If you open the chat menu and turn on game screen sharing,
Oh, screen sharing.
There we go, there we go.
you can also
I
share game screen.
understand people's frustration. I'm actually going to play this at regular speed just so you can see it.
If you open the chat menu and turn
But
on game stream
people
sharing,
saw this and they were questionable about it because you can see how
also share your
laggy
game
it
screen.
is.
Did you see someone just like go on top of that dinosaur?
Really?
My guess is so that way it can prioritize your gameplay while also getting an experience to see how everyone else is doing. Because you don't, when you're screen sharing, you don't look at the super nitty gritty details of like, oh, that pebble, like why does that pebble look like that? You're just trying to get a general idea of like what is happening on the screen real quick. So you quickly see this guy's in here, okay, target them. You quickly see their placement. You quickly see their coins or the placement they're in or their items. You don't look at their screen for a very long time, which is why I think that's why they made it at 5 frames per second. But I could be wrong, including your gameplay. Your gameplay is also at the 5 frames per second like everybody else's. See?
Oh shoot!
Oh, he's trying to eat me. He's trying to eat me.
Okay, I got it.
But
I got it.
your gameplay is still running perfectly fine.
Okay.
Okay.
You can chat to your heart's content, even while playing different games.
Yeah, I know that one. So
This is also pretty cool.
I'm like in the sky right here.
And these are all, what's it called? Switch 1 games. There are no Switch 2 games that they are showing in here. So we have Mario Wonder, we have Animal Crossing New Horizons, not a new Animal Crossing game. Everybody wanted new Animal Crossing games. We won't get that until year 1 or year 2 of this game coming out. Sorry, not sorry. We have NSO, Nintendo Switch Online games, which are being changed to Nintendo Classics. They are doing a lot of renaming. Their app is being renamed. Their Nintendo Switch Online games catalog is being changed. Not a lot of name changes. And Kirby and the Forgotten Land is getting
That's so cute. So cute.
was also shown.
You can adjust this.
Now we also have Pikmin 4, Odyssey, another NSO game, and Echoes of Wisdom. So again, all Switch 1 stuff. But I do like how you can expand your screen
Size of your game screen.
and minimize everyone else's.
Guys, I lost. Like, where'd you
Go.
Or expand another friend's game screen.
This also, I don't know why this frame didn't get slightly better then. So I don't know. They did it wrong.
I think I know where you are. I know where you are. Wait.
They also show off
Little wall ride.
the new,
Everyone can watch them play.
where is it? The new Switch 2 Pro controller. So instead of it being an all black controller, it now has some gray accents, as well as the new C button, which we will see at a later date,
I think I know where you are. I know where you are.
or at a later point in the video.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Let's take a picture
Okay,
here.
are you ready?
Smile.
Yay. Oh, yeah, that's it.
I like your pose mix.
On the right Joy-Con 2 controller, there's an additional button. With the C
Yeah,
button, you can
the
hold
C
the chat
button,
menu.
which was leaked a long time ago whenever the 3D files came out for
You can
this
quickly and
console.
easily mute yourself, and more. And there's this.
Now this is where I kind of tilted my head a little bit about this. There is a camera that you can attach when you have, okay, so you have the Switch 2. There are 2 USB-C ports. There is the one on the bottom that the original Switch has, and there is now another one on the top. Now I mainly saw this, I was like, oh my god, you can finally charge your Switch in tabletop mode when you're playing with someone else, because normally it wouldn't be able to charge because it was, the port was only on the bottom, so it wouldn't be placed properly. But now it's on the top, so I was like, okay, cool, you can charge it in tabletop mode. But now you have a camera,
By connecting this camera to the
and
system.
this camera,
Hey,
Hey, what's up? Hello.
the quality is,
Hi, how's everyone doing? Good?
you can
I'm
appear
just
on
gonna be
screen
honest,
and think about playing a game.
subpar.
Based on here.
It is not a
Here's
good
how it looks with just the camera feed.
quality camera. Now it does the block out, and it does interact with the games, which is cool. But like, look at the anti-aliasing. Like, this camera could have been so much better for the price tag that it's at.
Using game
Now
chat.
I'm not gonna full
Even
criticize
though
this.
you can play
It's
games
really
and hang
cool,
out as if you were together in the same room.
but
Play together or compete in online multiplayer games. Chat while playing your personal
it's
favorites.
cool. It's kind of
Set your own
gimmicky,
rules for a retro game competition.
but
Or hold
it's
a sports
cool
competition
how
with friends.
you can interact like
All together,
inside of
anytime,
actual
anywhere.
games,
Game
which
chat.
they'll go more into later in the trailer.
In developing Game Chat, our goal was for you to enjoy playing online with others more closely, including family and friends, almost as if you're all playing together in the same place. The camera you saw in the trailer is the Nintendo Switch 2 camera, which will be available
Nintendo
on the same
Switch
day
2
as Switch 2.
camera. Same day, obviously.
A Nintendo Switch Online membership will be required.
This is also where I turn my head. A Nintendo Switch Online membership will be required to use Game Chat. This means that you have to pay their monthly subscription or yearly subscription, it's better to do yearly because it costs less over time. But you have to pay the online membership to access game chat. I know Sony, with their PlayStation 5, you don't need to pay for this feature. I don't know. I don't have their feature, but I can see other people's screen recording. So this is where it was questionable, which also means for the first time ever, a physical button requires you to pay. The C button will not work unless you pay for the game chat.
Required to use game chat. However, since we'd like
However,
as many people as possible to experience game chat, it will be available without a membership for a limited time. We hope
you get the free access period until March 31st.
to try
So,
it out. Additionally,
It's
game chat
pretty
supports
cool.
the Nintendo Switch parental controls app and different
and
settings
this is
can be
also
used. For
nice.
example, whether parental
Anything
controls
to
are
help
off, your child wants to use game
protect
chat to play with their friends.
the younger audience
Like to introduce
against
another
other
new
people is
experience
also
you can
really
share with
nice.
On Nintendo Switch, even if you just have one game, you can pass a Joy-Con controller to a friend and play together. But on Nintendo Switch 2, you can play together locally on multiple systems using just one game with Game Share. As shown.
Now they announce game sharing, which, if you remember from the 3DS and DS days, there was a feature called Download Play. And what it means is that one person would have the cartridge of a game, and you could create an online lobby. And in that online lobby, people who did not have the game could play with you for a limited amount of time, with you nearby and with you playing. I know my family and I did this for Triforce Heroes. We did that to get all the challenges to be done, because me and my dad had the cartridge, or I had the cartridge, he had the cartridge, one of those two, but my sister didn't. But with Download Play, all three of us could play together, and we did the entire game together.
Here, even
Which
games
is great.
on multiple screens can be played if one person
However,
plays a game.
This is one of the things where it requires the Nintendo Switch Online 2. They don't say this, but only the Nintendo Switch 2 can game share games. You cannot do it with the Switch OLED. You cannot do it with the version 1 Switch. You cannot game share with the Switch Lite. You can only receive invites. Only the Switch 2 can send and receive game shares. Just keep that in mind.
With Game Share, you can temporarily share compatible games with others who also have Nintendo Switch 2 or a Nintendo Switch system. You can share a game with up to 3 other systems at a time.
Max
Game
of
Share also
3.
supports online play with other
which
Switch 2
obviously
systems,
makes sense.
and you can use it with friends via Game Chat, which we showed earlier. Game Share can only be used.
Game share will be available via software updates for select titles in the future. So it only starts with these 5 games. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, which I don't know how that'll work. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, which they showed off in the previous segment. This is how they start off with Clubhouse. Mario Odyssey, which is very interesting because that's a single player game besides someone playing as Cappy. And Big Brain Academy, which is like, are you smarter than a 5th grader?
Use with compatible games. This feature is planned for several titles, starting with a free update for Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics on Nintendo Switch. Game Share support is also planned for select games exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2,
So buy a Switch 2 if you want exclusive Nintendo Switch 2
you'll
games
look forward to it.
to game share as
Up
well.
next, we'd like to show you the Nintendo Switch 2 system itself.
This is what I was looking forward to. Information about everything Nintendo Switch 2. So, it has a bigger
At 7.9
screen,
inches, Switch 2
but
a bigger
it is
built-in
the
screen.
same
Here's how that compares
thickness.
to Nintendo's.
So the original Switch 2 is 6.2 inches. The OLED Switch was 7 inches with an OLED screen, and this had an LCD screen. The Nintendo Switch 2 is now a 7.9 inch screen with a LCD. So Switch 1 was LCD, the Switch 2 is LCD, the Nintendo Switch OLED was obviously an OLED model. People are complaining about it being LCD, but again, the reason why I delayed this was because there was the Nintendo Switch 2 experience, and they also had like an influencer media meeting where they would bring a bunch of influencers and a bunch of news analysts to be hands-on with the console. And they have mentioned that the screen does not look like the Switch 1 screen. It is a brighter screen. Now, yes, it won't have the perfect blacks like an OLED probably would, but the screen is a lot better. so keep that in mind when you are getting
The
this.
system's thickness
And
remains the
also,
same.
it's the same thickness. High definition display.
With approximately double the pixels compared to Switch, you can enjoy games in greater detail on the 1080p screen.
So the original Switch 1 had a 720p screen. So did the Switch Lite and the Switch OLED. Now the Switch 2 has a 1080p screen. So there are more pixels per square inch of the screen. So the screen is a lot smoother in visual quality. Now this is where I thought, this is what I was looking forward to, this part right here. Now most Nintendo Switch games, mainly all of them, can go only up to 30 FPS. And I thought with the Switch 2 they would only go up to 60. Instead they decided to ball it up with 120 frames per second. That is crazy. Now this is where I turned my head and I was like, this is going to mean that the Switch is going to cost more than what I had expected. My guess was 400. We will go into price in a minute.
Up to 120 frames per second, allowing for smoother gameplay and supported titles.
Supported titles. See, this is where they go into LCD, but it has the HDR support,
The LCD screen
so
is
it
more
looks
vivid
nicer.
and supports HDR, providing more contrast between light and dark areas of the images.
This is also a huge win for me. My OLED Switch, whenever I have the Joy-Con and I slightly push my Joy-Con upwards, it will detach. Now they attach magnetically.
The all-new Joy-Con 2 controllers connect
And from the
magnetically.
side, so no sliding
Magnets
up and
keep the controllers
down,
firmly attached
and
to the
it's
system.
difficult to
Detach
pull
your
from the
controller easily
side,
by pressing the release button on the back.
which is so nice.
The SL
This is
and
also
SR
a
buttons
huge win. These were so flippin' small. Now they are so much bigger. And we will also go into this, I think it's next.
and control when playing with the Joy-Con 2 held horizontally.
Oh no,
The left and right sticks are now larger.
larger, cool. Here we go.
Each Joy-Con 2 controller
can now
be used
use
as a mouse
them
to play
as
with
a
compatible
mouse.
games. Both the left and right Joy-Con 2 support mouse controls.
So with certain games, which they will go into in a minute, you can use the Joy-Cons as a mouse to get more, more exact, placement of a cursor in a
By
game.
adjusting the audio balance between the ranges, sounds from the built-in speakers are
I never had
clearer and
issue
more
audio.
natural in handheld and tabletop modes.
But it's cool.
It has a built-in microphone, so you can voice chat with friends anytime via game chat. It also
Microphone.
uses noise-canceling technology to filter sounds, so your voice will come through clearly. Even if you don't have a surround sound system, games
Again,
can be enjoyed with more immersive,
I thought
three-dimensional
audio was
sound,
fine,
as if it were coming from all around you.
but any new thing is a win.
Place your Nintendo Switch 2 however you like with a large, sturdy stand. You can move it freely, like this. In addition to the USB-C port found on the bottom of the system, there's one on top as well. It's handy for connecting a USB-C camera.
It's handy for a
tabletop
mouse
mode.
or a camera.
Nintendo Switch 2 comes with 256 gigabytes of internal storage, 8 times.
This is nice. So with the Switch 1 and Switch Lite, you would only be able to have 2 games on here, which it was kind of sad. But now you would be able to have so much more storage. Now the problem is some of these games with that are going to get a lot larger. I know Mario Kart was now said to be at what was it, 23 gigs? I think was the newest thing. So, and Elden Ring is going to be I don't know. These games are going to be huge. So, bear in mind.
Times that of Nintendo Switch for storing your game downloads, save data, and more. Reading and writing data is also faster.
Loading times is also faster, which
Use
is
the
nice.
Nintendo-
New dock. 4K support. Now this I thought was mandatory. They needed this. And now they finally do.
Switch to dock to connect to your TV and enable up to 4K resolution.
And it also has right here the LAN port that the OLED model dock had. And also has the AC adapter and the HDMI output.
For compatible games. HDR is also supported.
This is also very important. Frame rate is fixed to a maximum of 60 Frame rate is fixed to a maximum of 60 FPS for 4K output. Now, I have a 4K monitor. My parents have a 4K TV. So, the maximum we can have is 60 FPS for 4K. Which, I don't care. To be honest, I didn't need 120. It's nice, but it's really all you need. And there is now a
Nintendo Switch
built-in
2 dock
fan
has a
in
built-in
dock.
fan that keeps your system cool. This helps keep performance stable. On Nintendo Switch 2, you can play Nintendo
And
Switch 2
backwards
games, as well as
support.
compatible Nintendo.
There was a an image shown where it showed 2 different Yoshi games,
Switch games, physical and digital games are
so
supported.
they could have teased a new Yoshi game, which is pretty cool. And Nintendo Switch 2.
As you just saw, Nintendo Switch 2 isn't simply an improved Nintendo Switch. We redesigned the system from the ground up and packed in lots of new gameplay features. And to help players better understand the Switch 2 hardware, we're currently developing this game. Mr. Kawamoto!
Hello. My current location is actually inside the game itself. This is Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2.
I'm just gonna let this play out.
Standing over here. Okay, everyone, join me inside the game. There are a lot of question mark icons here. Let's examine them. This sign reads, where are the magnets? The Joy-Con 2 controllers attached to the system with magnets, and those magnets are inside the system. The SL and SR buttons on the Joy-Con 2 are made of metal, so that's how they attach to the system.
It's
A
pretty
magnetic
cool.
circuit is formed between them, so they won't easily detach.
It's pretty much a tech demo slash game manual for Nintendo Switch 2. It was cool. When people saw this, they
Through
thought
examining signs like
this
these, we
was
can discover
going
all
to
sorts of
be
secrets about
the
Nintendo Switch 2.
equivalent of, if you have a PS5, you would get a built-in game called Astro's Playroom. Basically what it would do is basically show off all the new features of the PlayStation 5, as well as the new controller with the haptic feedback and the new touchpad, how that worked, and all that stuff. Here, they have decided to opt in
and when combined with the gyroscope,
with making
now
this
if you're interested.
a paid digital-only game. Now, I'm gonna go more into this game specifically, but it's basic. We also saw gameplay of this where it showed not just the controller and the system over here, but it showed the controller, the dock, the camera, and I believe it was one other thing. Like everything that's new for the Nintendo Switch 2 will be in this game. So it's not just the 2 Joy-Cons and the Switch and that's it. It's mostly everything else that's being launched with the console, Nintendo-wise. So it's not like gonna be a game of Elden Ring in there.
Now, I'd like to share some more information regarding Nintendo Switch 2. This is the game card for Nintendo Switch 2 titles. It's the same shape as Nintendo Switch game cards, but it's now red and it has much faster data reading speeds.
This is new, as I don't know if you guys remember, but with the 3DS and the DS one would look like this, except a different shape, obviously. But the 3DS one had the exact same shape as the DS one. However, it would have like a white notch, so that way you couldn't fit the 3DS game inside a DS. So I don't know what will happen if you put a Switch 2 game inside a Switch 1 console. It's up for interpretation of that.
Next up is additional storage. Switch 2 will only work with micro SD express cards.
This is
They're a
also
different type of SD card and will make high-speed data transfers possible.
was questionable.
Please note, the regular micro SD cards used for Nintendo Switch will not be compatible.
So this means that all the SD cards that you have for your Nintendo Switch 1 most likely will not work. Now what do I mean by most likely? The micro SD express cards is fairly new. So if you bought a recent micro SD express card for your Switch, then yes, that one will work for the Nintendo Switch 2. However, in my situation, I have one of these SanDisk non-express SD cards. That means I have to buy, if I want more storage, I have to buy a whole new micro SD express card. Now, I know Nintendo will sell their own. I know SanDisk is selling their own. I think the SanDisk 256 one that they're actually literally showing here without the Mario symbol is selling for $60. 60. So
Additionally,
Love to see.
to transfer data from Switch to Switch 2, you can log into your Nintendo account to use the system transfer feature. With
yes,
this feature,
system
you can
transfer,
save data,
you can do
digital
that
games, and
with
more.
the Switch
We're also
ones.
releasing a new Pro.
Here's the Pro Controller. New C button.
It has a C button, which launches Game Chat, and on the back there are new GL and GR buttons, which you can use.
And now they have the programmable rear bumpers. Now, these are programmable. These are not separate buttons.
to
This
assign specific
means
button
that
controls. In addition,
you can program, for example, you can have this button be like pushed in on this joystick, or you can have this button be the B button. They are not separate buttons. They are programmable. I want you to keep that in mind.
an audio jack has been added. We've introduced
and an
a few
audio
new
jack.
features, and after today's presentation, the
Which
official
I don't know
Nintendo Switch 2 website will go
this is
live.
used.
There will also be an Ask the Developer article on the website, where the three of us will talk about the development of Nintendo Switch 2. We hope you'll check that out as well.
And now, the Nintendo Switch 2 launch date. Nintendo Switch 2 launches on June 5th.
June 5th. Mark your calendar.
We're very much looking forward to the day when you all get to experience it, so please wait just a bit longer.
Now, broadly speaking, on Nintendo Switch 2, you can play 3 types of games. The first type is Nintendo Switch 2 games.
So this is when they're gonna go more detail into how
These games take advantage of the performance
the
and
Switch
features
2
of
is different from the Switch 1
the second type is
games
compatible games
wise.
that were released on
Right here. So they showed a Yoshi's, I think it was Crafty World in other versions, but they showed Woolly World in some other versions. So we don't know if that was an error on their part or it was teasing something. But yes, most Switch games will be able to be played on the Nintendo Switch 2. Some games that I can think of immediately on the top of my head is what's it called? Ring Fit. Ring Fit Adventures will not be able to be played on the Nintendo Switch 2. Most likely because of how the Joy-Cons attached to the ring, as well as Nintendo Labo. Also because of how the Joy-Cons would like slot inside the what's it called? Into like the cardboard figurines.
on Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch 2 edition games are the third type.
Now this is where it also
Some
became
games that were released on
a
Switch will
bit
receive upgraded
questionable
versions
to
that
people
offer
who were
things like
watching.
visuals, unique ways to play on Switch 2, and more.
Oh, let me put
Now, I'd like to show you the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Party Jamboree. Please take a look.
Super Mario Party Jamboree is getting
You
an
see the
upgrade
new
on Nintendo
cameras?
Switch 2. The upgrade expands on the base game and adds new features, including mouse controls, audio recognition, more expressive TV launches.
I'm gonna skip it. Basically, what it is that it's Mario Party Jamboree is getting a DLC, which if you have the Nintendo Switch 2, it adds new mini games that uses the new Nintendo Switch 2 features: the mic, the mouse, the camera, so on.
Is on Nintendo
However,
Switch 2, July 24th.
The question was,
Nintendo Switch 2.
what if you already have Mario Party Jamboree? My family and I have Mario Party Jamboree, so what would that mean for us? Well, in order for you to have the Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 edition with the DLC content,
Players who already own Super
you
Mario
would
Party
need
Jamboree
to
can upgrade
buy
to Nintendo Switch 2 edition
an
plus
upgrade
Jamboree
pack.
TV by purchasing an upgrade pack.
which, you know, makes sense because it has DLC. But this also locks behind the performance updates of the Nintendo Switch 2. Meaning, if you have the Switch 1 and you don't buy this pack because you can't, you will not have the better FPS, the better like resolution, which
Please
became
look forward to the new
questionable.
Mario Party experience, where you can see each other's reactions while playing. Let's continue presenting some more
Again,
Nintendo
it's
Switch 2
very,
edition games.
very corny. Now we have
Nintendo Switch 2 editions of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and The Legend of Zelda Tears of...
Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom getting Nintendo Switch 2 editions, which now makes it Breath of the Wild will now be on 3 Nintendo consoles: the Wii U, the Switch family, and now the Switch 2 family.
Kingdom feature enhanced resolution and frame rates, and also support HDR, which makes the image more vibrant, so you can play with smoother, higher definition graphics. Plus, you can get even more
Including-
adventures in Hyrule using Zelda Notes. This new feature can be accessed via the Nintendo Switch app on smart devices.
So you guys, I'm
It's a
renaming
game-specific
things.
service that's exclusive to the Switch 2 editions of these titles. For example, it can...
So now we get a screen
It's a game-specific
of
service
what
that's
the
exclusive to the Switch
apps will
2.
look like. So on the left we have Breath of the Wild, and on the right we have Tears of the Kingdom. They are exactly the same, pretty much, except Tears of the Kingdom instead is auto sharing, and item sharing only works for Breath of the Wild, and item sharing here only works for Tears of the Kingdom. But each game will have their own voice memories that you can do. It'll navigate you to Koroks, which I'll go into later. Your game data, so like how many enemies you killed, how long you've traveled, how many times you've died, basically that kind of stuff. How many rupees you've collected.
2 editions of these titles. For example, it can help guide you to various locations, like shrines and Koroks you haven't found yet.
Guidance activating. Proceed north.
Proceed north.
Or you can share your creations using QR codes and send them to another player to create in their game.
auto build sharing should have been a thing day one.
We hope these features will make your adventures even more enjoyable.
But it's annoying because these features are locked behind Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. So you can't do, I believe, from what I'm seeing, you cannot do auto sharing and item sharing unless you have a Nintendo Switch 2.
In Kirby,
This is all I thought was pretty adorable. Now this is different from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. This is more along the lines of Super Mario Party Jamboree, where it's getting a quote kind of DLC content.
in the Forgotten Land, you'll be able to enjoy an additional story exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, along with improved graphics and frame rates. This story takes
Along
place in
with
Forgotten Land,
improved
which means a
graphics
powerful meteor that's causing some mysterious changes.
and frame rate.
We hope you're looking forward to Kirby's new adventure.
So
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will have both a Nintendo Switch and a Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
So we now know that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, as well as Pokemon Legends ZA, which I'll get into later, they will have cross-generation releases. This is basically the equivalent of, if you remember back in the day, Breath of the Wild got both a Wii U version and a Nintendo Switch version. This is basically the same thing. So if you don't have a Nintendo Switch 2, if you don't get it, but you want to play Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, you can. You can buy the Nintendo Switch 1 edition of the game. Same thing with Pokemon Legends ZA. And they also go into more about
In addition to standard
enhancements.
controls, you can use mouse controls for...
Now we had saw that. Oh, that's pretty cool. We saw this in the Nintendo Treehouse. That's also why I waited to watch the Treehouse, which we'll get into all of that stuff in a minute because I have photos and websites to show. But you can dynamically go from mouse mode to normal like control grip icon. Like how they're holding it here, you can hold it like this. But you can do it seamlessly between this mode and mouse mode. And you would be able to tell with this little itty bitty cross in the middle of the screen, this will go away if you're holding it like the Joy-Cons you would for the Switch 1. But if you're in mouse mode, it would add this, and you would get the more precise movement that he's about to show now. See how you can adjust like a mouse.
You can explore the immersive world.
And you see, there's no crosshair here. So now they're playing it in the normal Switch 1 version. Or how you would hold the Joy-Cons. So this is on the Switch 2, but they're holding the Joy-Cons like you do for the Switch 1.
World in 4K at 60 frames per second, or enjoy
I'm getting rid of these captions here for a second, but with Metroid Prime 2 Beyond, or with Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, you would have two versions you can pick from. You can have quality mode, which would be at the 4K 60 FPS, or quality mode and handheld mode, it would be 1080p 60 FPS. Or you could do performance mode. So like if you wanted to, docked, you could do 1080p 120 FPS with HDR obviously. All these have HDR. Or you could do handheld mode at 720p 120 FPS. And 720p is the same that the Switch 1 has, but on the larger screen, so you bite the bullet there a little bit. The best is probably the handheld mode, quality mode. I'm probably going to mainly play quality mode if I do get the game. But it's cool that it has those options.
Choose from these two modes, both of which support HDR, based on your preference and playstyle. Plus, Pokemon Legends ZA, which is scheduled to launch later this year, will not only receive a Nintendo Switch version, but a Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
So now, they just said, ZA is also getting a Nintendo Switch 1 and 2 release. So, again, if you don't buy the Switch 2, or you simply don't want to buy it right now, you can get this game, the Nintendo Switch 1 version, and then you would get the upgrade pack for Nintendo Switch 2 edition. But with that small fee.
By taking advantage of the power of Switch 2, you can enjoy your adventure in Lumio City with enhanced resolution and frame rates. The Nintendo Switch 2 edition games you just saw will be available as both physical and digital versions.
Physical and digital.
And if you already own the Nintendo Switch version of the game, you can play the Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
So I'm going to go back to this photo. So all of these games will have a Nintendo Switch 1 version and Nintendo Switch 2 version. Both physical and digital. Obviously, because Mario Party Jamboree, all of these games, well, these four right here, Mario, the two Zeldas and Kirby already came out, but these have yet to be released. But instead, you can pay the additional upgrade packs, which I'll get into prices in that minute because they don't say them. But these two games will also have a Switch 1 and Switch 2 release. And you can pay the upgrade packs.
And if you already own the Nintendo Switch version of the game, you can play the Nintendo Switch 2 edition by purchasing an upgrade pack. We hope you're looking forward to these Nintendo Switch 2 edition games.
They do not announce prices for the Switch 1 or the Switch 2 or upgrade packs here.
Joy-Con 2 controllers. Please take a look.
Now this is when they announce an entire new game. This game is called Dragon Drive, and it's basically what ARMS was, where it's showing off a new feature of the Joy-Cons. I'm actually somewhat gonna skip this. Oh yeah, you can dunk in this game, which I think is pretty funny. We don't get a release date, we just get a time when it comes out, summer, so probably July.
Both Joy-Con 2 controllers. It's nice to intuitively pull off various moves. We hope you're looking forward to a new twist on 3-on-3 matches using dual mouse controls. Next, here are some games from our publishing and development partners coming to Nintendo Switch 2.
Now this is when they go into the more of the splash roll of third-party stuff. So I'm gonna skip all of these, but we have Elden Ring, we have Hades 2, we have Street Fighter 6, which is banger. We have, I think this is called Arsenal. I actually want to see this name, so I don't spread misinformation. Is this Arsenal?
After 2 long wars where our freedom was restricted, we will finally be liberated from its humans.
I'm in need of a new arsenal, new equipment, and money.
Arsenal.
You're buying.
Thanks for the warm welcome.
Hey, this is Joe.
Oh, children, bring
We
home
have, I didn't know what this was, but
our lives.
this game, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. Demon Ex Machina, I think that's what it's called.
Hey, this is Joseph Forrest from Hazelight. I'm super excited for Split Fiction.
Split Fiction. So if you like It Takes Two, get this game because it's really freaking good.
Sci-fi and Zoe write fantasy. Together, they get trapped in their own stories. And it's up to you.
We also have new EA games coming. We have EA Sports FC and we have Madden
Also be arriving on the Nintendo platform.
coming to the Nintendo Switch 2.
Hi, I'm Alan Q from Outline Software. We are bringing Hogwarts Legacy to Nintendo Switch 2.
Hogwarts Legacy is now coming to the Switch 2, which I believe was also on the Switch 1.
And the new mouse controls.
We have Tony Hawk 3 and 4 coming to Nintendo Switch 2. Did they show the title of this? Oh, I think I skipped it. Yeah. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 coming to Nintendo Switch 2. With a SpongeBob reference.
I'm from IO Interactive. We're bringing our flagship title.
We're getting Hitman.
Assassination to Nintendo Switch 2. As the best assassin
Fans are
Agent
eating
47 does
this.
everything it can
Like,
to
we are eating good.
And how each mission progresses will vary depending on the player's imagination. Our ever-expanding game will release on the same day as
Stevie, I don't know why I didn't get your message in my comment section or in my viewer. Great graphics. They are great graphics. How much for Metroid Prime Switch 1 edition? I will go over the prices for these after the direct because I have all these tabs pulled up of all prices. So I will go over that after that. But what are you missing out if you don't get the Switch 2 edition? As far as I know and what we have been told, there is no content that you will miss from Switch 1 to Switch 2 editions. So, with like Jamboree and Kirby, you get the DLC content of like that roller coaster game and the Starcross world where like everybody gets a mohawk. That doesn't happen for Metroid. Metroid is literally just physical, and I guess you can count the content as the mouse feature, where you could have the mini crosshair in the game. Oh, you like Street Fighter? Hold on, I will play that for you. Where are you? Capcom.
experience with the original or not. But for more about Hades 2, later this year.
But yes, there is, as far as we know as of right now, there is no difference between the Switch 1 edition versus the Switch 2 edition of Metroid Prime.
こんにちは、カプコンの中山です。我々がお届けするタイトルは、ス
Street Fighter 6
Street Fighter 6 is coming to Nintendo Switch too.
本体を持ち寄っての対戦はもち
Oh,
ろん
I'm actually glad you brought this up to me because there is
ソフトは通常版の他に総勢20
Amiibos are
キャラクター
coming.
を収録した Gears 1-2 Fighters Edition の2バージョン、さらにゲームと連動する
Let me
アミ
full
ー
screen
ボと
this.
アミーボカード
We are getting 3 new amiibos that are coming for Street Fighter 6. So thank you for reminding me. We are getting these 3 characters as well as these are all the characters that you'll be able to play as in Street Fighter 6. But these will also be deemed as the Nintendo Switch 2. These also have a price tag that I will be going over though. But yes, we have Pro Skater, Tony Hawk, Hitman. We have 007 is coming to Nintendo Switch. I'm not going to play that so I don't get copyrighted.
Shadow that never fades is reborn.
But yeah.
Bravely change and customize jobs to build your gameplay. Enjoy your adventure with upgraded features and enhancements, and all new minigames with unique ways to play.
I hope I didn't skip over the title of this game.
Bravely Default Flying Fairy.
Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster. Coming launch day Nintendo Switch 2.
Once more.
We're also getting Yakuza 0. But
Developed in collaboration with Nintendo. Please take a look.
this is when I got excited again. Because as soon as I saw this logo, my eyes immediately went to, we are getting a Hyrule Warriors game. And guess what we were getting a Hyrule Warriors game for? We are getting a Tears of the Kingdom Hyrule Warriors game. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Let's flip and go. I'm excited for this. And it's going to winter.
That was Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. It's being developed by Koei Tecmo Games, with support from Nintendo. We hope you're looking forward to the untold story of the Imprisoning War, which took place in Hyrule long ago.
So, and this is Hyrule Warrior games without Link, because Link obviously wasn't in
And
the
now, some
Imprisoning
news
War.
about Nintendo Switch Online. You can continue to enjoy Nintendo Switch Online on Switch 2. And with Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack, you can enjoy a new membership benefit exclusively on Switch 2.
So, exclusively on Switch 2, if you have the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack, so this version right here where you get like the Game Boy Advance games, the N64 games, and all the DLCs that they come up with for the games already, you will now get a new, what's it called? They're calling it Nintendo Classics. I'm going to call it Nintendo Classic. You are now getting
You can enjoy
GameCube. GameCube is finally coming to Nintendo Switch Online. But it is only on Switch 2. So you have to get, and this is where they talk about they're changing the names to the Nintendo Classics. But you will only get the GameCube on the Nintendo Switch 2.
2001. Here are the titles that will
And
be
here's where they
available
said it's
at
being
launch.
renamed.
A Legend of Zelda game that looks like a cartoon come to life.
And the starting games are Wind Waker,
Enters the
Soul Calibur 2 with Link, because you know, it's Link,
GX.
and F-Zero
Games that
GX.
support multiplayer.
These are the
up to
first 3
4 can
games
play
that are
together
coming out.
locally.
They
or
also
online.
announced a few more, 2 of which I am looking extremely
Enjoy
forward
these
to.
classic games with
But it's on
clearer
Switch
image
2,
quality
so
and
you gotta
higher
pay Switch
resolution
2
than
in order to get
original
these
releases.
games.
You can also check the controls for each title and customize them to your liking.
This is nice for people who have their macros.
More titles will be added in the future.
So, this I thought was pretty funny. If you have Super Mario 3D All-Stars, enjoy Sunshine. Fire Emblem, this was the game I was looking forward to. Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness is super bum expensive. Also, I would like to mention with Super Mario Strikers, in the Nintendo Treehouse, they actually showed off the GameCube. However, Mario Strikers was also being shown inside when they showed off the game. So they played Wind Waker and they played all 3 of them. The Soul Calibur 2, Wind Waker, and F-Zero. But this they didn't play, and it was shown with the other 3 titles. So we don't know if this is coming next. We don't know if this is coming addition with the 3 games previously named. but speculation, right? And we're getting Pokemon Coliseum. So these are the more titles that are being added. Hello, welcome in. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. There's a lot of misinformation going on about this new console, about how physical games are and how digital games are and all that other stuff. I'm just trying to spread as much correct information that I have at my time. But welcome in.
Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo.
Where is Wind Waker HD? So regarding that topic, with Wind Waker now being on the GameCube, I do not think they will do the Twilight Princess HD plus Wind Waker HD version like they did for the Wii U. Sorry. But you get Wind Waker 1 on GameCube.
Online plus expansion pack launches the same day as the hardware's release.
But yes, available on the same day as Switch 2, only on Switch 2, with expansion pack members.
And
I will also go into more benefits of the Switch 2, or the expansion pass.
It can connect wirelessly and also has a C button to quickly
Has a
access
C
Game
button.
Chat. The Nintendo
Yeah,
GameCube
I know.
controller, exclusively available for Nintendo Switch Online members, will also
Wind
be
Waker
available the
HD
same
not
day
on
as Nintendo Switch 2.
Switch is kind of annoying.
Whether you're familiar with the games or haven't played them before, we hope you're looking
Oh,
forward
and
to Nintendo GameCube.
the wireless GameCube is available on Switch 2 release date as well.
Of course, you can continue to play select games from the system shown here on Nintendo Switch 2.
This makes
Okay,
sense, obviously.
let's see some more games from our publishing and development partners.
This is when they also go into the more splash art. We have Deltarune, chapters 3 and 4. Get jump scared, by the way. We have Borderlands 4, which I think is a new game. We have Civilization 7. We have...
I'm Lionel James.
I'm gonna skip
and I'm
that.
Bishop.
We have
Final announcement today is
2K.
that
So we have
WWE
WWE 2K,
Nintendo Switch 2.
as
NBA
well
2K
as
as well.
NBA 2K, coming to Nintendo Switch 2. I know a lot of people are excited about that.
And on the court.
We also had this indie game, which, if you watch this live, like the other 1.3 million people did on the US version, Celtics #1, nice, as well as what's it called, the UK version, which had 300,000, you would know that this game actually froze. I like the new Joy-Cons on Switch 2. I actually enjoy them as well. We overwent that a little bit, but they are slightly bigger, and they don't fall off the Switch as easily, which is a super nice improvement. But on the screen right here is actually funny, because it froze on the screen, but you could hear the audio, but it was frozen on the screen, so you couldn't see what was happening past this, but you could hear it. So after this is actually kind of new content for me. Oh, yep, that's right. So we have Enter the Gungeon 2. This is now a new game coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. Which I actually didn't play this game, but it looks interesting.
Now reloaded in a new 3D art style. You can expect some fan favorite elements to return. We're still working on the game.
They're still working on the game, which is expected. Astroneer? A version of Astroneer? What? What is this? This is Astroneer. But it doesn't look like the PC port that I play. This is very different. What is this? Stars. Okay. Okay. So it's an Astroneer game. 2026.
Hello, my name is Adam Badowski from CD Projekt Red.
Now, this is really cool, but Cyberpunk, can it play Doom? If Doom Eternal is on the Switch 1, which I think it is, then yes, Doom you can play on the Switch.
Cyberpunk 2077 is an open world.
Actually, I will Google that right now. Is Doom... The sequel to Doom in the 7th release and... Okay, yes. So in 2020, they came out with a Switch port of Doom Eternal. So yes, you can play Doom on what's it called? Switch 2. If you have the physical version or the digital version. This is John Wick. We're getting 07, so kind of.
Thanks to Nintendo Switch 2, you can transport yourself to the city of
But yes, John Wick right there,
games at
confirmed.
home or on the go. Get ready to meet unforgettable characters and discover engaging
But
stories.
this is really cool to see Cyberpunk on a hybrid console.
Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition comes to Nintendo Switch 2 on launch day.
Konnichiwa.
Keep in mind, what we were seeing, we were only hearing. So we didn't see this gameplay of Cyberpunk. We didn't see the gameplay of Star Seeker. We didn't see the gameplay of Enter the Gungeon. We only heard it.
エアニックスの浜口です。
We only saw gameplay whenever it showed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
インターグレードを発売いたします。
Which, yes, we are getting Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the Switch 2.
の一作目となり、20年以上の時を経て再創作された。
And then we go into all of the splash art. If you watch normal Nintendo Directs, you would get like the cool like one game at the very beginning, and then like a few games in between, and then they would do the full-on like rush sequence of like here's gameplay, name, release date, which is what we will see in a second. So here we go. We have Kunisu Gami Path of the Goddess, same day as Switch 2, so June 5th. People got very excited for this game. Silk Song is coming on Nintendo Switch 2 in 2025. So the entire chat was losing their mind when they found out Silk Song was coming to the Switch. Switch 2, not Switch 1, Switch 2. As far as we know. Story of Seasons, Grand Bazaar. Good Night Universe. 2 Points Museum, 25. Wild Hearts, 25. Witchbrook, which we saw in the last trailer, but 2025. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, same day Switch 2, so June 5th. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. So I'm guessing with this, that says Switch 2 Edition, this is getting a Switch 1 and Switch 2 version, my guess, and same day as Switch 1, so June 5th. Marvel Comic Invasion, coming holiday this year. Star Wars Outlaws, coming out in 2025. And again, this is now them showing all the previous games. I'm not going to try and say that, but Awakening Complete Edition, this game. So if you're a fan, same day as Switch 2. Fast Fusion, same day as Switch 2. So June 5th. Shadow Labyrinth, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. So I'm assuming this also is getting a Switch 1 version as well as a Switch 2 version. July 18th, 2025. Radu Remastered? I don't know if I'm pronouncing any of these right. The Mystery of the Soulless Army. June 19th. We saw this game in the last Direct. No Sleep for Kaname this guy. July 25th. Reanimal. Bro! Wait, what? No, I'm just kidding. Fortnite. Epic Games' newest game. If you know, you know. Same day as Switch 2. Obvious. Arcade Archives 2 Ridge Racer. Professor Layton in the New World of Steam, 2025. Tamagotchi Plaza. Oh, they went too fast, but I'm going to talk about that. This also has a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, so this is most likely going to be on Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. Human Fall Flat 2 coming to the Switch 2. Boom.
We've shown a lot of games so far. The next game will be the last from our publishing and development partners.
So this is now the last, what that means is the last third-party game, so a game not being made strictly by Nintendo.
Please take a look.
And it's their last one of it, so everything we'll see is Nintendo Onward. Now, I'm going to skip most of this gameplay because it's kind of creepy. But From Software, the creators of Elden Ring, they are making a new game called The Duskbloods. Now, this game is exclusively That's right, exclusively.
What you just saw.
Oh, come on. On Nintendo Switch 2. So, not on PS5, not on Xbox, not on Switch 1, only on Switch 2. Castlevania, where did you guys live? Oh, was it? Oh, you're talking about Castlevania for this game? The Duskbloods? You know, as most people thought, was Castlevania, that it was getting a port. But no, we're getting the Duskbloods by From Software, so we know this is going to be a hard game. Coming 26.
What you just saw was a brand new game by From Software. We'll be publishing a creator's voice article where the game's director, Hidetaka Miyazaki, will share more details about the game.
And now everybody was wondering, Smash? Where's Smash? So now we're getting a new game. A new Nintendo game. Now, I saw this as a Kirby star, obviously, but I was like, oh my god, it's Smash. It's gotta be Smash, because it makes sense. You started with Kirby in Smash, in the story mode, and I'm like, oh my god, we're getting a new Smash game? And it made sense. Until I saw this, and I'm like, what the heck is this thing? And then I saw like the star is getting like engines or supersonic mode. Like, what is this? Opening the direct and closing it with racing games. I thought it was very confusing. I didn't know what this game was until I saw the title and I looked into it. Apparently this is a GameCube game, and it makes sense because GameCube is coming out with the Nintendo Classics. But yes, we're getting Kirby Racing. Kirby Air Ride was the original, but now we're getting Air Riders. Directed by Sakurai. So the director of Smash is the director of Kirby Air Riders, coming this year.
Kirby Air Ride, which originally released on the Nintendo GameCube system over 20 years ago, is getting a brand new game. We hope you're looking forward to Kirby Air Riders, directed by Masahiro Sakurai. Next is our last trailer for
pretty
today.
cool.
Please take a look.
Another trailer. Now, when people saw this, we were like, 3D Mario game. We're getting Mario Odyssey 2. Then we see this, and we're like, what is this? New Kingdoms? Some banana-themed level? Ingot Isle? And then we see, wait, monkeys. Does this mean... What does this mean? We are getting a 3D Donkey Kong game for Nintendo Switch 2 using the new Donkey Kong from the movie with his new companion. This is basically I don't know how to describe this, but this was actually really cool when I saw it. With terraforming, you can break through the ground, you can pick up the ground, you can swing it at enemies. Like, this game was amazing. Like, it looked really cool. So instead of 3D Mario, we're getting 3D Donkey Kong. And 3D Donkey Kong wasn't... the last time we saw 3D Donkey Kong was, I think, the N64 days. Yeah, Donkey Kong 64. Oh my god, yeah, so many collectibles. I didn't play it, but I heard it had so many collectibles, so much backtracking. It was a big thing. Now, I'm actually gonna be quiet for this part, but I don't know if you heard this, but that little rock, he said DK, which means, I don't know if this is the first time ever, but I'm gonna say this. For the first time ever, we are getting voice acting. You must be so young. 20, bro. 20 this year. Or 21 this year. So I'll probably play it on a Switch 1 with the expansion pack. Okay, so I'm gonna be straight up honest. With the the treehouse. These are the equivalent of, if you played Mario Odyssey, which you should, these are the equivalent of Power Moons. And over here is what's called Ammonite. This is a collectible in the game, so keep that in mind. Banana. And here we get a glimpse of, I'm assuming, all the bosses, including the main antagonist right here in the middle. Yeah, all the bosses. Donkey Kong Bonanza. Switch 2 exclusive. With release date, July 17th.
That was a brand new 3D platforming action game starring Donkey Kong, called Donkey Kong Bonanza. With incredible strength.
Everything else is just them recapping.
The ground, and just about everything.
So June 5th.
Here are the hardware options that will be available at launch. We'll release
And
Nintendo Switch 2.
here's where they go into the nitty-gritty of price
As well as a bundle that includes a digital version.
the console itself. So you could either have the option of the Switch 2 with Mario Kart, or just the Switch 2. So it just makes sense to get it with a bundle because you're just buying the Nintendo Switch and you get no games besides your Switch 1 library.
Switch 2 website, which goes live later today.
We've covered a lot of information, but that's all we have to share for today. You'll have to wait just a bit longer for launch. We're very much looking forward to everyone being able to experience Nintendo Switch 2.
We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And then legal information, more legal information, and Treehouse, where they will show off all the games, so including Street Fighter 6 for you, Steve. Stevie. So that was the direct. Now, also the reason why I waited behind was because there was an event going on called the Switch 2 Experience. This is basically where you would put in a ticket for you to attend these events in LA, New York, and Texas. Not in that order, but you know, you'd basically be able to go there for the weekend. So one's actually happening right now. On April 4th to 6th, April 11th to 13th, and April 25th to 27th. This is basically so that way people like us that aren't, you know, content creators, influencers, news outlets can be able to see Switch 2 and play it, which I thought I'd mention because it's pretty cool. I didn't sign up for any of these. There's really no point. You would be there for an hour, and I don't live in any of these three places, so I'd have to get a plane, hotel, a plane back maybe. It didn't seem worth it, but I just thought I'd mention it. Now, here's where it's going to be a bit controversial. Nintendo posted their video, their direct, on April 2nd. Now, I currently live in the United States, so our president, President Trump, he now told us the taxes or the tariffs that would come out for basically all products that are coming into the United States. So basically, to dumb it down as much as I can. So for example, Nintendo, and being in Japan and having the Nintendo Switch 2 being made in Vietnam, that's where the Switch 2 is being produced. Now, we do know that some Nintendo Switch 2 consoles are actually inside the United States right now. They do exist. They are here. They're just like in the back rooms of warehouses or of Walmarts and whatnot. So they already do exist. However, if you do live in the United States, the pre-orders that they had said would come out for Nintendo Switch 2 are not actually starting on April 9th. So on Best Buy, on Walmart, on Target, on GameStop even, they are now no longer doing their pre-orders on April 9th. This is because Nintendo... Oh, I probably should have gone over... I don't know why I didn't go over the price. Oh, they're right here. Nintendo announced the Switch 2 at $499 with the Mario Kart bundle priced at $500, with Mario Kart World itself being priced at $80, which I'll go more into detail later, as you can see over here. So, pre-orders are now being held until Nintendo gets back with us. For if you live in the UK, if you live in Europe, if you live, where else? I'm just gonna say Africa. If you do not live in the United States, your pre-orders should be fine. I don't know about Canada or North America, because I know they're South America is close to us, and it's called America, but I don't know if they're impacted on this. But all I know is that as of right now, the US is impacted. Nintendo will update us later, but the launch date of June 5th is unchanged. That's all I'm going to go into. I would like to keep this civil. Please. And this is going more in detail. So with Vietnam being the production where most Nintendo Switches are being made, the US is giving them a 46% tariff increase. So let's pull up a calculator real quick. So if you were to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 at the tariff, 46 plus 500, bro, okay, 500 times the 46%, and then plus the 500, it could be, I don't know if this is true or not, but it will be around $730. They may make that lower, we don't know, but that is estimated. This is a huge increase, but this is one of the things where we'll have to see what happens. And this recently came out. It's actually a good thing I delayed this. Right here, Nintendo expanded its manufacturing operations outside China in 2019. This is what I referred to with now being made in Vietnam because of the tariffs. But in a rare display of unity, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, so the makers of Nintendo Switch, the makers of PlayStation, and the makers of the Xbox, they are actually working together, and they made a letter to the US government warning the tariffs' negative impacts on the gaming industry, and that console sales should be exempt from these taxes. Meaning, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft are trying to say, hey, United States, we would like our consoles to not get this 46% tariff. We would like them to just come in fine. This does not mean games. We don't know. This specifically warning the tariffs' negative impacts on the gaming industry should console sales. They don't mention games. They only mention consoles. Now, they go into further detail saying the letter led to a successful outcome for the companies in 2019, but 6 years later, no such exemptions currently seem to be in place. So this is one of the things that most humans don't like, but we will have to do the one thing we don't like: wait. This is something that we cannot really mess with. This is mainly between the companies of Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft with the United States government. Now, before all of this, on April 2nd, you could what's called register your interest to buy from the My Nintendo store. So I want to say about an hour after the Direct, you could put your bundle, like register. You could register interest into wanting to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 on the Microsoft's the My Nintendo store. Now, I put mine on April 2nd. Do I plan on buying it? Probably not. But I'm only doing this just so I can see if there is anything listed exclusively on here that not a lot of people will be able to see. But if you did register your interest on this website, there are guidelines that you have to have followed. So priority requirements are as follows. As of April 2nd, so whenever the Direct was live, you must meet these 3 requirements. You must have been the one who purchased any Nintendo Switch Online membership. What this means is that if you are in a family plan, only the person who is currently paying for the membership is the one who has the priority access or fits this requirement. Only that person. So if you are in a family plan and you are getting Nintendo Switch Online and you are the one who is paying, you have the priority access. If you are like myself in this situation, I am in a family plan, but I am not the one who is paying for the family plan. Only my father is. So if he registered for interest, he would meet this requirement right here. But however, I do not, so I do not meet this requirement. So I do not have the priority requirements, so I most likely will not get this, but it's just one of those things that I want to emphasize. The second thing is, you must have had any paid online Nintendo Switch membership for a minimum of 12 months. So regardless of whether you have the Nintendo Switch Online or if you have the Nintendo Switch Online expansion plus expansion pack, you need to have had any of those 2 for a minimum of 12 months. Now, I do not know if this means 1 month in 12 months in one time, or if you had it for 6 months, you waited 6 months and then got another 6 months, and that meets the minimum requirement. We'll have to see. But there's a third requirement. You must have opted in to share gameplay data and have played at least 50 hours total gameplay hours, meaning you have had to have went in your settings and made it to where you told Nintendo, I would like to share my gameplay data, and you have played your Nintendo Switch for 50 hours minimum, which this is probably given to you, so it's probably automatic that you share gameplay data. And listen, if you're buying a Switch 2 on game day or on launch day, you probably have 50 hours on the Switch, so you're fine on that. Now, if you guys have any questions that I go over, please do not be worried to message in the comments or in the chat, because I am just trying to make this as simple as possible, as streamlined as possible, as easily digestible as possible. So if I say anything confusing, please let me know. But another thing that they are going over with is Nintendo Switch 2 game key cards. What this means is that game key cards are different from regular game cards because they don't contain the full game data. Instead, the game card is your quote-unquote key to downloading the full game to your system via the internet. What this means is that the best example I can come up with is I actually own this game, Lego 2K Drive. If you buy a physical box of the game, it only comes with a digital in-game a digital code that you would go on the Nintendo eShop and you would type in redeem code, and you would essentially type in the code that it gives, and boom, you would download the game from the internet. Instead of doing that process, inside the box, you would get the physical card, you would put it in, and then you would download the game from the internet. So instead of getting a download code, you would get a key of it and you would download it from the internet. This means that in order for you to play the game once it's downloaded, you, I believe, would have to have the cartridge in. Once the game is downloaded, red line internet connection is only required when you launch the game for the first time. After this, the game can be started even without internet connection. However, like regular physical hardware, the game... Okay, so exactly like I said. So even though you are downloading the game digitally, this is your license of it. So, yeah, I know it's very confusing. I'm trying to make it as digestible as possible. But think of this as a physical virtual game card. So, virtual game card, Nintendo. Doing this all live. This. So, a few months ago, or I think a month ago, they announced virtual game cards will make digital games easier to use. Hi, Gavin. If you have any questions about any of this, let me know. This is basically me going over all Nintendo Switch 2 stuff and trying to debunk as much misinformation that has come around regarding the release season of this. But onto this, the Game Key cards. It basically is the same thing as a physical virtual game card. So you would have to have this in your console to play it, even though you download the game digitally. And I will go over which games right now are like that. But essentially, you put this in your game, you put this in your Switch, you download the game digitally, and then you can play the game. But in order to continue playing the game, you have to have this cartridge inside the Switch 2. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about it, I will come back to that. That's why I'm leaving all these tabs open. If there's any questions that come up, I'm going to flail through them. But that's essentially what I can think of. Now, these are the two games that have the game key. So if you want these games, you will have to adjust to this new system. It is Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster and Street Fighter 6 Years 1 through 2 Fighters Edition. As you can clearly see, they are the game key card. Sounds dumb, just get it digitally. Yeah, but this is one of the things where it's like, if you're a physical collector, this is what you'll have to get. If you want to have it on a shelf and display it, or if you want to resell it, this is what you'll have to do. But these are the only two games as of right now that have these game key card limitations. Street Fighter 6 and Bravely Default Flying Fairy. Now, another thing that I want to go over with is on April 3rd and April 4th, so yesterday, there was the Treehouse event. And in that Treehouse event, they would show off games and new features and all that stuff. However, the chat nonstop was spamming drop the price. Now, I had told my family this. This guy right here, Jaguar, make physical games physical. This guy is talking about the game key things, which I just talked about. But the entire chat for the entire 4 hours on day 1 and the entire 3 hours of day 2, it was nonstop drop the price and someone saying piracy, which is illegal. Unless you have the game and you do the make switch dumper and all that stuff, it's a gray area kind of thing. Buy older consoles and mod them until they drop the price. So I mean, and then but there's some positive where it's like Let's Go DK. So there is some good stuff, but it's just nonstop drop the price. $80 for a game, which we'll go over in a second. But I would just have to emphasize, you do not have to buy this console on launch day, on launch week, on launch year. You do not have to buy it. Period. You don't have to buy it. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. If you want to buy it, I mean, you have a lot of people not buying it, so you have probably a higher chance to buy it. But this was not the nonstop chat, and I thought it was very funny. It goes on and on and on. Drop the price. I can't afford over $100 a game. Drop the price or I will not buy. So, I actually tried to, I'm going to go over here. This is where it has all the prices that I will go over in very much detail because regarding upgrade packs. But with drop the price. You don't have to buy it. You don't. So, if you don't want to buy it, don't. Period. But this is on Walmart's official website. So, Nintendo Switch 2 with Mario Kart, $50. Nintendo Switch 2 system, $450. These are subject to change, most likely regarding the tariffs. This is more of an if, waiting moment. Mario Kart World US version, $80. This is what that guy in the chat was talking about. Now, there was misinformation regarding Mario Kart World specifically. If you were to look at, I think it was a UK website or a Europe website, it was one of those two, it would show that there was a different price for Mario Kart World, being $80 digital, like you would go on the eShop and you would pay the $80, and then you would download it from the internet, or you would pay $90 for a physical version. Now, it was minus 10 for both of those, so it was like $70, 70 pounds and 80 pounds, which translated to 90 US. But that rumor has been debunked for United States users. UK, Europe will have that $10 difference, but the United States will not have that. You are paying $80 for physical Mario Kart. But if you want Mario Kart anyways, just buy Mario Kart World plus Nintendo Switch 2. You'll save $30. Now, we obviously have, I'm gonna go over these games separately, but the camera, Nintendo Switch 2 camera, was $50. So you saw that camera that they had showed off for Game Chat. This camera. Oh, nope, not that camera. This camera that would be interactable with games, $50. So if you want it, $50. There you go. The Nintendo Switch 2 carrying case and screen protector, $35. So if you're one of those people that brings your Nintendo Switch around and you want it to be protected with a screen protector and all that, it's $35 for both. So you get the screen protector and you would get the carrying case. Now, I'll do that later. The new Street Fighter 6 amiibos that they showed off, those are each $30. So Luke, Kimberly, and Jamie, those are $30. So if you want it, there you go. $90 for all three. So if you're a collector, I'm sorry. The Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller, $80. Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. How much was the original one? Let's find out together, shall we? $70. So if you have a Switch 1, it was $70 for the Nintendo Switch Pro 1 controller. But if you want the Pro 2 controller with the audio jack, the C button, and the two paddles, or the two bumpers in the bottom, $80. I, at the moment, right now, do not know if the Nintendo Switch 1 controller will work on the Switch 2, and I do not know if the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller will work on the Switch 1. I doubt the Pro 2 works on Switch 1, but it's one of those things where we have to wait. The Sage amiibos. So, can you use the old control? Can you use the old controllers? The version 1 Joy-Cons, I believe, will work with the Switch 2 via Bluetooth. As far as I know, they might work via Bluetooth. This is one of those things where I might have to wait as well. Can the Joy-Cons 1 work with Switch 2? So according to Nintendo Switch, Nintendo right here. Oh, here we go. Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 accessory compatibility. So with exceptions, Nintendo Switch accessories can continue to be used with Nintendo Switch 2. So the original Joy-Cons, so the ones that you have for your Nintendo Switch 1 with all the fancy colors, they are compatible with Nintendo Switch 2. They can only be paired wirelessly though. You cannot put the Joy-Con ones on the Nintendo Switch 2. And as well as the new grip that comes with the Switch 2, you cannot attach it there. Just think of it this way, only Bluetooth. It can't attach to anything, only Bluetooth. Then the Nintendo Switch 1 Pro Controller, it can be used wirelessly on Nintendo Switch 2, and it can also be charged by connecting to the Nintendo Switch 2 dock. So if you have the USB-C cable and charge that and plug that into the dock with the USB-C at the end, it will charge. So my guess is it is fully, I'm viewing this as fully compatible. That is how I'm viewing it as. Same thing with Joy-Con 2 controllers. Same thing with Nintendo and the NES controllers. So only wireless, cannot be attached to anything. Only works with compatible games. I'm assuming this means it can really only work with the Nintendo Classics is what the new name is going to be called. Same thing with the SNES controller as a Pro Controller, except it only works with compatible games. So most likely for Nintendo Classics. Same thing with Nintendo 64 controller, Pro Controller, but only works with its games. Didn't know this existed, but same thing as N64 and SNES controller, only compatible games. Adjustable charging stand for Nintendo Switch. This cannot be used for Nintendo Switch 2. I'm assuming this was the like the small dock. Does it have the USB-C port or the HDMI port? I can't really tell. The Nintendo Switch 1 dock is not compatible with the Nintendo Switch 2, nor is the Nintendo Switch 1 charger, so like the full-on brick with the cable attached. The HDMI cable with Nintendo Switch 1, is not compatible, so use the HDMI that comes with. The SD card, wow, there's a lot. The SD cards that you have for Nintendo Switch 1 are not compatible. The only feature that it is compatible for is for screenshots and videos. So there you go. The GameCube controller adapter. So I believe this was an adapter that you could plug into the Nintendo Switch dock. And if you had like a wired GameCube controller, you can plug it in and it would work. This is accessible or compatible. So there you go. I believe this was because of Smash Ultimate, where GameCube controllers were a million times better on it. The Joy-Con straps, they are not compatible with the Joy-Con 2 because they have their own straps. So use the straps that it comes with. The Joy-Con grip is not compatible. This is probably because it is not a rail mechanism. It is a magnetic mechanism, and it has this lip so it can't magnetize. The Joy-Con, wow, this was a thing. The Joy-Con charging grip. So what this is you would plug in a USB-C cable into this grip, and it would charge the Joy-Cons while you play. Just like the Joy-Con grip, the charging grip is not capable for the same reasons. The Joy-Con wheel, you cannot use. Down here, where is it? It's somewhere, but they have their own wheels. There we go. The Joy-Con wheel, they have their own wheels. The leg strap and the Ring-Con. So if you were playing Ring Fit if you were playing the Wii Sports, or Wii Sports, if you're playing Switch Sports Soccer with the leg strap, they are not compatible. So you cannot use your Switch 2 controllers with the Switch 1 controllers. You can play when playing on so Ring Fit is compatible with Nintendo Switch 2. It just says when playing on Nintendo Switch 2, the Ring Kong with the Ring Fit Adventure game can only be used connecting Nintendo Switch Joy-Con wirelessly. So you would have to have your Nintendo Switch 1 Joy-Cons, put that into the Nintendo Switch Ring Con, and then play Ring Fit. A little bit of hassle, I know. Joy-Con AA battery pack pair. Again, it only works with the Joy-Con ones because of the size. I don't know who got this, but if you did, it doesn't work. And ironically, the newest thing Nintendo put out, the Joy-Con charging stand 2-way, it is not compatible because it only works as a rail system. These are all the compatibilities for Nintendo Switch 1 accessories working with Nintendo Switch 2. If you would like me to go over them, please let me know. But back with prices. Donkey Kong Bonanza, the US version, is $70. So there you go. Street Fighter 6, $60 physically with the game key. I'm assuming all these prices translate into what's it called? Digitally as well. So $70 digitally for Bonanza, $80 digitally for this, all that stuff. For the third time, Breath of the Wild is going on a shelf. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition is $70. This does not include DLC. There was no mention of DLC being included with Nintendo Switch 2 edition. This means that you'd pay the $70 as well as however much the DLC was for Breath of the Wild, on my assumption. So there you go. DLC is most likely not included. Again, oh, they added this. The microSD express card, 256 gigs, $60 for the Nintendo Switch version, like the official Nintendo product stamp of approval. I will go more into these Edition 2 games, so Jamboree, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and all that stuff. I'll go into that later. But just to show, Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV is $80. So there you go. I will go over what you'd have to pay if you have Jamboree already for Nintendo Switch 1. The brick for Switch 2, $30. So if you want another one or you lost one, you would have to pay $30. And instead of it being a full-on brick with the cable, like inside the brick already, you can't unplug it. It is now its own standalone brick with a cable. So now there's two things for you to lose instead of one. Tears of the Kingdom, $80. Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Tears of the Kingdom, $80. Bravely Default Flying Fury HD Remaster, $40. So there you go. This is also the other game with the game key card. Now, if you lose a Joy-Con 2 or you want another one, it is $50 for just the left Joy-Con, or $50 for the right Joy-Con, or $90 for the pair. So if you ever want more Joy-Cons, buy the pair, because you save $10. But it's still $90. What was the Joy-Con 1 price? Let's just do my Nintendo Store for consistency. If it shows, here we go. So the original Joy-Cons, right here, if you just get the black and gray ones, $80. So $10 more. So same thing as the Pro Controller. Just think whatever the price was for the original ones, add $10. Obviously the Sage Amiibo, $20. The Nintendo Switch 2 all-in-one carrying case, $80. If I'm being honest here, don't buy this. Wait for third-party retailers to come up with one. I got one for my Switch 1 for Christmas, and it was half the price of this, and it came with a whole bunch of stuff. So just wait for this. I'm gonna actually Joy-Con 1 charging grip. I didn't even know this product existed. I'm trying to see if I can find the Nintendo one. I can only find the GameStop one. The GameStop is $15, but let's just do Nintendo Store. No, that's the Joy-Con grip. I want the charging one. Is that on the same website? I'm looking at my second monitor. Sorry, guys. I unironically don't see it. My guess is it was probably $25 and now it's $35. But it's one of the things, it's the grip that you come with a grip. You come with the normal grip, not the charging one. You come with the normal grip. So just like I did with the Switch 1 that came with a grip for the Joy-Cons, you get a grip for the Joy-Con 2s, but it's not the charging version. So if you want the charging version, $35 separate. And if you lose a strap or both straps, $13. But if you buy the Joy-Con pair or you buy the two Joy-Cons separately, they come with a strap. So this is purely only here if you lose a strap. Now, we did that already. Now, this was the game that everybody thought was going to be a pack-in deal tech demo. So basically the Astro's Playroom, but instead this is the Nintendo version. This, I don't know, has the price tag on it that I had found, but it has been confirmed to be 990 yen. So, oops, go here. Welcome tour price yen. Here we go. So on Google, if you literally just look up welcome tour price yen, the Nintendo Switch 2 welcome tour game will cost 990 yen, or about $6 when translated to USD. So my guess is this game will be available on the eShop. Did you say how much the Switch is already? If so, do you think the price is worth it? So let's do that real quick. Nintendo family of systems. I did go into the price though, so yes, I do apologize. But here, I don't know why it's okay. Nintendo Switch family of systems. Where do you say prices? Which Switch is right for me? Let's see. Do they name prices here? Bro, why is it not listing off prices? Hardware, Switch. Oh, this is not the... Here we go. Okay, so this is the original Switch 1 family. So they first start off with the Nintendo Switch, the version 1. This was $300. The Nintendo Switch Lite, $200. So the undocked version, non-Joy-Con take-apart one, $200. The OLED model, which is the one that I have, with basically the version 1 Switch, but it had the better kickstand. It had the double the size of internal storage. So these two had the 32 gigabytes of internal storage. This one had 64. and it had the OLED screen, so it had better color representation. It was $50 more than the original Switch. Now, this Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo Switch 2, is $450 for just the console itself, or it was $500 for Mario Kart World Bundle. Do I think the console price is worth it? Yes. For everything that they have told us, the 4K, the 120, I think the console price was about where I would say is reasonable. However, regarding the prices of games, I do not think they're reasonable. I think $80 for the Mario Kart game was way too much. We're in a state where everything is up in price right now, and the least people wanted was games. So everybody was making the joke saying Grand Theft Auto 6, GTA 6 was going to be $100. Nintendo has now opened that floodgate of it being potentially true. So, console price, I think it's somewhat reasonable. It could have obviously been lower. I was hoping 400, but 450 makes sense for all that they've said. It can do the 4K support. It has the better screen, all that stuff. With everything that came included with the Switch, and all the new features that came out with the mouse, the game chat, all of that, the game sharing, I can see the price justification of $450. Now, I'm probably not gonna buy it though, because it is not in my budget. I didn't anticipate it being that high, but from a non-blurred standpoint, I would say yes, this does seem like a justifiable price. I hope that answered your question, but it is a lot of money. But Welcome Tour is going to be $5. That is my prediction. It should have been, I don't know. I do believe this is going to be $5. It is going to be paid digital only, so no physical copies will be made. It's essentially a virtual manual. This should have been a pack-in game. Period. Done. Over with. Should have been in the game. Should have been included. Here we go. Now, there are Switch 2 Edition games. However, these games are getting free updates. So you do not have to pay anything. These are getting free updates to improve playability on the Nintendo Switch 2 system on these games. So you pay nothing, you get the updates. By connecting your Nintendo Switch 2 to the internet, you can download free updates that may improve performance or add support for features such as game share in select games, like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. They had showed this game was already getting the game sharing feature. So there you go. That already proves it. This may also include the performance update of getting like the 6K, or not 6K, no 4K. I needed some non-copyrighted music right now. It is very quiet. Here we go. Just whatever I could find. But yes, these games are getting free updates. You pay nothing. So, including ARMS, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Clubhouse Games 54 Worldwide Classics, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Game Builder Garage, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and Big Brain Academy Brain vs. Brain. So now, I'm assuming that every single player game that's listed on here is only getting the performance updates. So these are only getting the performance updates. This was getting game sharing, so I'm not going to go too far into this. Is there any Switch 2s in America yet? Yes. Nintendo has already confirmed that there are Switch 2s in America already. But they are wanting to import more, which is the big question of, is it going to be $500 for the ones that are here now and the price will increase? Or if all of them will increase? So it's one of those things where we got to question it. All of this tariff stuff is up in the air, but it's one of those things that we have to see. But yes, there are Switch 2s in America. I heard President Trump is working with Vietnam about dropping tariffs. I actually heard that too. That's also why I waited until today to do this. I was planning to do this yesterday, but as soon as I found out the tariffs are coming out, I was like, let me wait a day. Let me see if if the U.S. was gonna do anything with Vietnam. But yes, I heard he was planning on dropping the tariffs momentarily. But again, it's one of those things that we have to wait. ARMS, all these games that you have or are planning on getting of the Switch 1 versions of, these are getting free updates. But now you guys are questioning, what about Mario Party Jamboree? What about that game? Well, introducing Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games. These are games that you already have that you actually have to pay for these enhanced features. These games include The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Switch 2 Edition, Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 Edition, Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2 Edition plus the Jamboree TV, Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus the Star-Crossed World, as well as these two games that are unreleased yet, Pokemon Legends Z through A and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Now, I want you to think of it like this. If a game is only getting a performance update, no additional content is being included, they are $10. Why do I say that? If this website loads, there we go. For the physical version of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, it is $59.99. If I go back to Walmart, Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 Edition is $79, aka $80. So it is a $20 additional price tag, right? So physical version and digital. Physical and digital are both $60. But for the Switch 2 Edition, it is $80. But let's say we go to Super Mario Party Jamboree, it is $60 physical and digital. But if you go to Mario, not that, where are you? Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV, it is also $80. So every game that comes with additional content for the Nintendo Switch 2, those upgrade packs are most likely going to be a $20 price tag. Now what about Nintendo Switch 2 Edition for Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid, and Pokemon? We do not know the price tag of Pokemon Legends Arceus or Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We do not know. My guess is $60 both, or more, if Nintendo's going to do this, $70 for Metroid Prime 4 and $60 for Pokemon Legends Arceus. If they do not add, if they do not add additional content to the game and are only performance enhancements, add $10. So $70 for Breath of the Wild Switch 2, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild $60. Now, if you are paying for, I have so many tabs open. There we go. If you have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, great. If you have Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack, you are going to be given the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition and of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. They actually posted a video about this. Nintendo Switch 2 Tears of the Kingdom X. Nope, not it. Take your word for it. Take my word for it. You're getting these for free. If you pay for Nintendo Switch Online plus Expansion Pass. So, there you go. Bonus for you. But if these games, Super Mario Party Jamboree and Kirby and the Forgotten Land, their Nintendo Switch 2 editions, come with, I'm going to call them DLC. So, they are going to be $10 or $20 more. That is the most simplistic way I can put it. That is really all I had planned for this. This dropped the price baloney. Come on, guys. Really? I understand it. But can we at least show some credit to Nintendo? They did this during most likely the worst time they could have announced this, with the tariff situation, and it is good to see that they are working along with each other. But that is pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I can't think of anything else. Did anybody have any questions regarding what was shown in the Direct? What I have shown you in here? I am free to help anyway given. We're learning these things together, guys. It's the Nintendo launch season. I hope I did answer everything though, because oh yeah, Stevie, I didn't mention you directly, but if you're still here, sorry about Street Fighter 6. It comes with the game key card, so that's it. You gotta adopt that system. Oh, since I'm here, I guess I'll go over the virtual game card situation. So with the Nintendo, if you buy a game digitally, for example, if you have Animal Crossing digitally on your Switch, instead of you being able to put your user on any Switch you want, and anyone could use your user to play the game, it is no longer that system. Only one digital game can be on Nintendo Switch, on one Nintendo Switch at a time. So let's just watch this together, because I'll go over.
You can put a game featuring Mario in this Nintendo Switch system, and a Legend of Zelda game in this one, freely inserting the games you have on hand into any system you want. But what if digital games could be as flexible and convenient as game cards? Well, here's what we came up with. Introducing the Virtual Game Card. In the future, virtual game cards can be used for digital games. When purchasing the digital version of the game, it will be loaded onto your system as a virtual game card, allowing you to play that title. Your digital games will be lined up as virtual game cards on a dedicated management screen. Here, you can load and eject your virtual game cards and manage which games you can play in your system. If you have two Nintendo Switch systems, you can eject a virtual game card from one and load it onto the second. Now you can play this game on the second system wherever and whenever you want, just as if you had inserted a physical game card. With virtual game cards, you can freely load and arrange which games you play onto two systems. Local communication with your second system is required, but only the first time. You can also lend out virtual game cards to your Nintendo account, Family Group members. Connect to your Family Group member system via local wireless when you want to lend a game. Choose the title you're lending. And who you're lending it to. And you're done. They can now play on their own system. You can only lend one game at a time to a particular person. Games can be lent out for 2 weeks, after which they will automatically return to you. Making digital games even easier to use. Virtual Game Card.
Okay, that was pretty much the trailer. So, it is very confusing, but I'm going to go over it very slowly. If you buy a game physically, you have the box, obviously, but inside the box comes with the cartridge. You put the cartridge inside the Switch, and you can play the game. With digital, though, it was very, very different. You would buy the game on the user. So let's say I want to go in the eShop and I want to buy Animal Crossing New Horizons. I would load up the eShop. I would select my user. I would search up Animal Crossing. I would pay for it and I would download it. Boom, done, simple. Now, this is very confusing. But with this new system, instead it would become think of this as digital physical cartridges. So if you think of it as that, it becomes a whole lot simpler. Basically what you would do is you would download the game and it will become a digital cartridge. So it's basically you going into here, going into this separate menu right here, and you would say, I would like to, quote, put this cartridge in my system. That's why it has this cartridge icon, because you had got it digitally. But it shows as a digital cartridge. But with the original system, you would put your user on another Nintendo Switch, go on your user, go into your recent all your downloaded games catalog, and download the game on there. But you would have to be connected to the internet. Only that user could use it. It was a whole bunch of things, unless it was like the primary Switch, and I'm not going to go into all of that because it's very confusing and I don't want to confuse you guys. But this system is being treated as making your digital games treat like physical games, which includes the lending feature. Actually, you know what? I'll do the loading thing first, because we'll do it in order. So you load the game onto your system. So you buy it digitally. It becomes a virtual game card, and you load it onto your game. And you can play the game whenever you want. Any user on the system can play it. Simple as that. It is in its own menu, showing all your digital games. And you would go into, if you click the A button please, you would click load on this system, and it would show up like this. Nope. It would do this little animation, and it would load up like this, with the cartridge put in the system, quotation marks, and you can play it anytime, anywhere, without needing to be on the internet. You can also load on another system. So basically, if the cartridge, quotation marks, if the digital game of Tears of the Kingdom is loaded on this system, this one will be grayed out. Alright? It would be loaded on this system only. So you can play Tears of the Kingdom on this system. Loading on a second system.
Nintendo Switch systems. You can eject a virtual game card from one and load it onto the second.
Alright, so you would then, let's go back, you can pause. Let's go back to this menu right here. So, if you, come on dude. If you click, I'm assuming once this says load on system, I don't like that. Yeah, I hate the system too. But thankfully, I will go into the good part about this towards the very end of this yapping session of the system. You could unload on this system, so it would quote, eject the digital cartridge, and you could then load on another system. So you would go from your version 1 Switch, and you put it on your OLED Switch, and you can play it anytime, anywhere, without needing an internet connection. The only time you will need an internet connection for this system is when loading the cartridge, so putting the cartridge into, quote, into your Nintendo Switch, or when, quote, ejecting from the Nintendo Switch. So like you take a physical cartridge outside of this little gap right here, is the only time you would need to load and eject the digital cartridge. It's the only time, and you can freely move them anywhere from the Nintendo Switch system. You can also link Nintendo Switches. This is one I believe comes with lending to family group members. So let's go back to that pop-up over here. There's this option for lend to family member. This is that new system. So basically what it is doing is you are taking your digital game. So say for example, I bought the Animal Crossing game and it's this virtual cartridge. And my sister is like, hey, can I borrow your digital version of Animal Crossing? I'm like, for you, no problem. So I'm going to go over here and do lend. How do two members of the same family play Mario Kart together? That's the issue that it comes with, because now you can't do that. How do exactly that? Unless you buy two digital versions of this game, or one buys digital, one buys physical, or you both buy physical, there is no way for you guys to play the same game together at the same time. That's why I hate the system, because yes, it makes it simple, but it also makes it to where people can't play together as much without spending more money. But, so if my sister wants to play Animal Crossing, I'm like, for you, no problem. So I'm going to hit lend to family member, and I can lend it to her. So my sister and I will need to have her Nintendo Switch and my Nintendo Switch. We have to be close by and link together, local wireless, and then we have to pair together, and then I have to be like, I have to pick the game, lend it to the family member. So you see how it says loaded on this system? This option is grayed out. So it's already loaded, already done. Maybe options is where you unload it, I don't know. Or you just load another system and it's there like that. But I hit lend, and then I'm like, so Nintendo account family group. I would pick her, and it would lend it to her. Of course, one game, one system. It makes sense because you only bought one digital license of it, so you can't do it for multiple people. Which is again that stipulation of how do two members of Mario Kart play together? You can't. So for 2 weeks, my sister can play Animal Crossing as much as she wants on her own system. No limitations, no internet needed, none of that. And then after that 2-week period, so let's say on, what's today? April 5th. On April 5th, I give my sister Animal Crossing at 12 p.m. On 2 weeks from then, so on April 19th, 12 p.m., it will go back into my system automatically. And I don't know if there is a limit as to how much, how many times I can give it to her. I doubt it. But it goes automatically back to me. But this virtual game card system is opt-in. It is an opt-in service. So you can instead, by navigating to user settings, online license settings, and turning the setting on, you can opt into the system we have currently. So you do not have to have this virtual game card system. You can keep how it is now, just like that. I'm assuming what that bottom means at the bottom. So you maybe don't have to do this system, but it's basically making digital cards act like a physical card. So I'm gonna use. So say for example, if my physical oh, can you still play with 2 members? With the system down here, yes. By my interpretation, you will be able to keep the system we have now, where I would have my situation is I do not live with my parents. So, but I have my dad's account on my system. So if I use his account to play the digital games that he bought, I can play Mario Kart with my family on their system, as long as they don't use my dad's account, because I'm on it and it'll kick me out. That's how the primary Switch and secondary Switch situation works. But if you use this system, you can't do that for digital games. It's basically treating digital games as a physical cartridge would. So let's say I have my Tears of the Kingdom copy physically, but my dad is like, hey, by the way, can I borrow your Tears of the Kingdom so I can beat this boss or get these Koroks or do whatever? I would give him my physical cartridge and give it to him, but then I would have to wait for him to give it back to me, kind of thing. So it's basically treating these as digital physical digital cartridges. That is the most simplest way that I can say these are. And these obviously work for Nintendo Switch 1 and Nintendo Switch 2. However, if you buy a Nintendo Switch 2 game, like if you buy Street Fighter 6, you cannot if you buy it digitally, you cannot put it on your Nintendo Switch 1 because it's a Switch 2 game. As said right here, available on Nintendo Switch, Switch Lite, and OLED Switch models. So you can't put a Switch 2 game on a Switch 1. It's not how that's gonna work. But this linking system, I don't know where they showed it. Right here. Let's see. I'm gonna read the fine print that it says. Hold on. Open the home menu, select the so we're getting a new HUD icon. It's its own separate HUD icon thing. Did it show where it was before? It did. So between the controller icon and the system settings icon, there will be a new icon that will be added, as well as on the Nintendo Switch 2. Here we go. This will be from Reddit, but this is what the Nintendo Switch, where are you? Virtual game card right here. Yep. So this is the Nintendo Switch 1 UI. So you have Nintendo Switch Online, you have the news, you have eShop, the album where all your screenshots and all your videos are put, controllers, gears, and power button, with this update coming late this month. For the Switch 2 UI, it's pretty much the exact same, except you would have Nintendo Switch Online, you would have the game chat button, so all of those features of muting yourself and screen sharing will get its own little section. This is the new news icon, so all the stuff that you get for, hey, this game, check it out. The new eShop icon, so instead of being orange, it's now red. The album stayed the exact same. This icon is for the game share feature, so where the Nintendo Switch 2 could tell other Nintendo Switches, like, I want to play Mario Kart with you. You can, if you don't have the game, I could share my version of it. We can play it for a short amount of time and play together. There you go. And obviously the controller icon, the gears icon, the power icon, and the virtual game cards. So you can move them together. Simple as that. Also, I hope we get themes. Hey, there's no themes. But let's go back to this. But where is the linking system? Here we go. So you would hit that icon, and I'm guessing under options is where you would hit link. Internet is required, but only the first time. So once systems are linked together, they are linked. And so now, if my parents and I link Nintendo Switches together, so I go to their house or they come to me, and we have our Switch systems linked together, we could freely move our digital versions of games onto that system. So instead of having to do that family sharing thing, I could now instead be like, my sister is like, hey, can I borrow Animal Crossing? I'm like, sure. So I would take that license, move it onto this Switch, and she would be able to play it on her Switch, no problem. And I'm assuming without that 14-day discrepancy or limit. And then this is probably for if you don't link systems, I'm hoping. Because this is with local wireless. See, so her Switch would need to be near my Switch, and paired together, quote, paired together, and I would have to give her the license going into it. So if you think of this system, I'm going to say it so many times, but if you think of this virtual game card system as making your digital games treat like as physical game cartridges, you will never go astray. That is how they're treating the system. But I am personally not going to do this system, as fun and as quote convenient as it is, because it makes it to where these games we can't play together. Like, I don't want to pay for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe plus DLC again to be able to play with my parents. So I'm probably going to stay with the system. I'm sure most people are going to stay with the system. Most people that are probably going to go with this system are parents with younger kids, like 10 and under. That is how I can see this system being used. Because they're going to say, I want to play it on my account. So you would do the thing where you were like, you want to play Mario Wonder? Yes, please. Okay. So you would either link them together, or you would pair via local wireless, and you would move the digital cartridge to that system, and then they can play it on that system, no problem. So, but with this physical, since it's treating it as a quote physical game, it doesn't ask for you to pair with the internet at the very beginning, and then it launches. It will just launch, and it'll work with every user. So, say for example, my dad buys Breath of the Wild digitally, and puts it on my system. My user that didn't buy it digitally, my second user that didn't buy it digitally, if I have a Japanese account for Japanese exclusive games, didn't buy it digitally, if he puts it on my system, all three of these users can have their own save file, their own exploration, their own separate save data without needing to connect to the internet. So it's treating it as a physical cartridge. That is the only good thing that I see it as. Yeah, as I said right here, save data will not be erased when returning virtual game cards. So if my mom has Mario Wonder, and I'm like, can I please play it? I'm almost closed. I want to see how the game feels. So she's like, okay, cool. So she takes Mario Wonder, takes it from her system, and puts it into mine right here. Boop. It's now, quote, in my system. I play it for the 14 days. I get to the third world. and I'm close to being done with the third world, but the 14 days is up, so it takes it out of my out of my system and puts it back into hers. My save data over here will stay, so I don't get to the third world and it takes out my system and my save data is deleted. That's not how that works. Save data is saved on the system. So then a week from now I become kind of busy and I'm able to play, but then I get a break where I'm like, hey, can I borrow Mario Wonder again so I can finish the game? So she takes it out of her system and puts it onto my system, and I can play and finish the game. Simple as that. So, digital games being treated as a physical version. So, let's see. It doesn't. So that's pretty much it. Holy crap! I've been live for 2.5 hours, going over all Nintendo Switch 2 stuff. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the Nintendo ecosystem. I hope this hopefully answered a few questions that you guys had come up with. This answered some of my questions of how this system worked. But long story short, the Switches, $450 for just the console, $500 for Switch 2 with Mario Kart. These are all the prices, and including all the amiibo cartridges and all that stuff. All that stuff. How the upgrade packs worked, games getting free updates. I would have lost my mind if Genesis does what Nintendo don't. I haven't the Sega Genesis, I get it, but I would have lost my mind if I would have had to pay to have my games be more optimized. Would have lost it, because if you play these games, you know the performance can be good and be very, 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 very bad. Castle Royale Lake, I'm looking dead in the eyes. I also talked a little bit about Nintendo Switch 2 edition games and how these upgrade packs down here will work. If you have Nintendo Switch Online Plus, the expansion pass with the Animal Crossing DLC, the Mario Kart DLC, the N64, what's it called? Nintendo Classic, what it's going to be called now. You will get these for free. But if you ever get rid of your expansion pack and you go back to the other one, the just online, you will lose access to these 2 edition games. You have to buy them separately. But if you go back to the expansion pack, you will get them back. Same thing where if you have the Animal Crossing DLC and you go back to just normal NSO, you will lose access to the DLC. But if you buy it back, you'll get access to the DLC again. So, but when it comes to games that are getting quote DLC, like Jamboree and Kirby over here, you will have to pay the $20 because you're paying the $10 for the enhancements and $10 for the DLC. That's how I'm viewing it as. And when it comes to these unreleased games, I am unsure. However, based on what is said in this text here and this text here, the only things that you're getting with the Switch 2 edition is the support for the Joy-Con controllers, the enhanced resolution and frame rates, and the HDR support. It's going to be $10 for those versions. Because you're only getting performance updates. You're not getting any DLC content. Like, you're not going to get, for Pokemon Legends over here, you're not going to get access to a whole nother part of Lumio City, which is where the game is set in. You're just getting improved performance with higher frame rate and resolution. That's all we know so far. So, we've also gone into the prices of that. And brace your wallets, guys, if you're getting the Switch 2. But the tariffs being paused with Vietnam is good. Hopefully they can address the situation. But, oh, I guess I'll go over this. But these amiibos, the Sidon, Riju, Tulin, and Yunobo amiibos, if you decide to get them and you have the Tears of the Kingdom, you can get the fabrics. There's custom fabrics, like the same thing for the Zelda amiibo for Tears of the Kingdom and the Tears of the Kingdom Ganon and Link. They gave you custom fabrics. Same thing for these. You'll get the cool fabrics. It is unclear if you need to have Nintendo Switch 2 edition for these to work. I extremely doubt it. 100% doubt it. I think it will only be it will be for both Switch 2 and Switch 1. Ooh, you want to go over Zelda notes? We can go over Zelda notes. Here we go. I just thought of this. With the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, if you buy it, you will get on the Nintendo Switch app. So if you have the Nintendo Switch online app, it will be changed to the Nintendo Switch app. So you will get access to the voice activation. Again, Switch 2, I believe. This is Switch 2 only content. You will get access to the navigation feature, which is if you need help finding a Korok, if you need help, what's it called? Finding where a chasm is, if you need help finding maybe an item, it would be in this navigation app, including the new voice memories. So, you know, the voice actor for Zelda and the voice actor for Rauru and, what's his name? Master Koga. You'll get that new additional content as well. So it's new content. So, but yeah, compatible with Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition. So only these two editions. So if you do not get the Nintendo Switch 2, you will not have access to this navigation stuff, as far as I know. So yeah, here we go. The voice memories. Here are the memories of various characters. So I don't know why it's in Chinese or Japanese, but you would get access to a voice memory. So like, for example, in their video, you go in Zelda Study, you'll get a little voice memory of Zelda talking about, you know, the Silent Princess that grew in the room. Again, compatible with Switch 2 edition, Switch 2 edition. Compatible with nothing. Nope, never mind, just kidding, it didn't load in. Auto build sharing. This should have been a feature day one. You will be able to send it to Zelda Notes. So, say for example, I build the most perfect hover bike ever to exist. It doesn't lean, it does it perfectly, and I want to share it with the world. So I would send my auto build to Zelda Notes, and it would get a QR code. I would then send that QR code to right here. I could share it via sending it to someone on a text message, on Instagram, anywhere. You could even put this QR code on a photo, which we'll talk about in a second. But you could share auto builds now, but again, only for the Switch 2 edition. Item sharing. This is where, say for example, my dad can you please give me a silver Lionel Saberhorn, the most powerful fusion in the game? I'm like, sure. So I would go to my material, I would go here, click one of these buttons. I think one is deposit, one is withdrawal, and I would be like, okay, so I would hit deposit, I would select the materials that I want, and I would send it to Zelda Notes over here. I would then go to his item over there, and I would tell him to now receive it from my end, so he'll be able to receive the labels, the Silver Lionel Saberhorns. And this works with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but it says right here, some items from The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 Edition will be converted to other items when received in Breath of the Wild. So what this means is, I think if you send over the new textured diamond, I have plenty of those. I'm still a virgin. Yeah, me too. I'm at 1.1.1. I have the glitches. But then if you upgrade to the Switch 2 edition, you have to upgrade to the newest version because they are updating the game. It has been confirmed. They're updating the game to have the new fabrics and all the enhancement features. So there will be a version after, 1.2 point something that we're on now. So there will be a new version. So if you want these features, you'll have to update the game. So dupe while you can. But like I was saying, if you have the diamond from Tears of the Kingdom and it has that like pointed version that you would put on an arrow, it would most likely become the Diamond 2 version of Breath of the Wild. That's my assumption. So it would take what's called the sprite, which is the 2D image of the diamond, and it would become the sprite of the Breath of the Wild diamond. Here what I was talking about, Photo Studio. So if you use the camera app in both, like with the Sheikah Slate in Breath of the Wild, or your Rauru arm in Tears of the Kingdom, you could take the photos. Obviously, you know, we love doing the photos. But with Zelda Notes, you can now edit those photos. You can make them a certain size. You can put stickers on it. You can put icons on it. You can put QR codes on it. So like I said before, if I have the perfect hover bike, the one that is perfectly flawless, it is amazing, and I want to share it with the world, I would take a screenshot of the hover bike with Link, like, you know, doing the hand thing, pointing at it, and I would put the QR code sample on it, and boom, I can share it with the world and everybody could get it. This Photo Studio works with both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, Switch 2 editions, but only auto build works with Tears of the Kingdom. So if I want to item share a bunch of diamonds with people, I could do it there. Now this is what I think is actually really cool. You could view your game data. So in here, I know it's all in Japanese, but basically some of it is like how far you traveled, how many rupees you've collected, how many times you've died, how many enemies of this type you've killed, all that kind of stuff. And even these little medals over here, you know, you have the Kilton medals for killing all the Hinoxes and all those kind of things. You now get certain what they're calling milestones. So one of these is maybe how many swords you've broken, how many how much you've traveled, how much you've traveled via horseback, how many enemies you've killed. So this is how you can view your in-game stats, which I think is pretty cool. And again, this works with Breath of the Wild Switch 2 Edition and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 Edition. So Breath of the Wild data will be on the Breath of the Wild version, and Tears of the Kingdom data will be on the Tears of the Kingdom version. Global game data, or play data. So this is basically, it compares your data from your save data to other people's game data. For example, let's say I've killed 100 of the seized constructs in Tears of the Kingdom. It compares my data in this chart. So like maybe 0 through 10, 10 through 20, 21 through 30, etc. I would fit somewhere in this margin here because I've killed 100. It's comparing my data with everybody else. So, well, most people have not killed that type of enemy yet, or killed very few. Same thing with traveling, same thing with how many shrines you've gotten. And again, save data specific with Switch 2 edition of Tears of the Kingdom and Switch 2 edition of Breath of the Wild. This is what I thought was kind of weird, but you can get what's called the daily bonus. So it's essentially a lottery system of where every day of the hour, so say for example at 12 p.m. I would spin this roulette wheel and they show this, which I know what this is. This is the full health recovery. So what you would do is you would win that lottery system, and any time that I'm low on hearts and I don't have food, I would go into my key item slot and I would hit the use daily bonus, and it would give me full hearts plus 5 temporary hearts. And I believe either as soon as this wheel is spun or the item is used in here, it starts that 24-hour timer. And when that 24-hour timer is over, you can then do this roulette wheel again and claim the hearts. This also works with like getting increased stamina, the shock resistance, defense up. Basically any effect that you can have in the game using items or meals, you can get with this daily bonus, including Zonai stuff. So like you can have the Zonai battery. Lastly, they talked about amiibos, so they're adding a new thing with amiibos. You can, in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you can use amiibos, sold separately, from the Legend of Zelda series to obtain in-game items once per day. So if you want that glider for the Sidon, you would have to get him, and you would have to scan him over and over again to try and get that fabric. But you can only do it once per day. With Zelda Notes, you can use each amiibo an extra time per day. So for example, on the 5th day, you would use it once, done. Use it the next day, use it once, done. Over and over again until you do it on the 5th day, you could use it an additional time. So 1 day, 1 use. 2 days, 2 use. 4 days, 4 uses. On the 5th day, you would have the 5th use and an additional use. So for 5 days, you would be able to use it 6 times. Zelda Notes is compatible with these games, etc. Boom. Simple as that. But these features for Zelda Notes, all these features right here, are only available for the Switch 2 editions of these games. Right here. Zelda Notes is a game-specific service that is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2 editions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You can download it, but you can't use it. And obviously right here, the current Nintendo Switch Online app will be renamed to the Nintendo Switch app in late May. So, and now, in a Nintendo Switch Online membership, is not required to use Zelda Notes. I don't know if online is still required to use a Nintendo Switch app. So it's one of those things that we'll have to see. But Zelda Notes, cool thing. I think that's it. I wanted to see if I can find the video of them going over it. Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition. I'm trying to find it, but I can't really find it. It was posted on, what's it called? On X, but I currently can't find it. But if you do have the Nintendo Switch 2 version, you would be able to have an additional save data. So you could be able to experience the game again on what's it called? On Nintendo Switch 2. And right here, it says Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. You'd have 2 save files, and available at no extra cost with Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pass. I don't know who this is, but they probably got the same video that I can't find. As you can see, I am scrolling through. But yeah, here you go. Everyone's saying Zelda Breath of the Wild and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 Edition are included with the expansion pass at no additional cost. But I want to try and find the video because that's where they showed off. Nice. Where they showed off the video for it. Oh, here we go. Found it.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will both have Nintendo Switch 2 editions.
We already know this. This is not new information. I just told you. The better frame rate. Oh, here we go. They knew what they were doing. If you've played this game, both these games, and you went in Korok Forest, the game would lag and the fan would whirl. So they knew what they were doing, showing it immediately being smooth.
And they have smoother, higher definition graphics. Plus, the load times when warping are much faster, helping you explore Hyrule with ease.
Love load times, bro. Yeah, load times are like non-existent on the Switch 2. And the Zelda Treehouse, or not Zelda Treehouse, in the Nintendo Treehouse, they showed off gameplay for the new, what's it called? The new Mario Kart game. It took like 5 seconds for it to load from world to world. Like, it was actually kind of impressive. Yeah, save data can carry over, so no need to make new save data. This was the part where people were questioning, because we are now going into the space of going from virtual enhancements to now, what's it called? Quality of life enhancements of having a second save data. Like, why can't on my Switch 1 can I have 2 save datas? So, that's the big question.
It's a game-specific service exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2 editions of both games, found within the Nintendo.
This doesn't contain the small data of, like I said before, it doesn't say you need to have Nintendo Switch Online to use, but it says Nintendo Switch Online is not required for Zelda notes, but I don't know of, like, voice chat for Splatoon 3, for example. So, and it's saying it's renamed.
It's designed to provide a more streamlined gameplay experience. Let's go over some of the new features you'll find in Zelda notes.
Do voice memories first. Ugh.
Sometimes it can be tough to locate shrines you haven't cleared or Koroks hiding around Hyrule. That's where navigation comes in.
So, with this feature, you can now find the Koroks that you need. So, for example, they're going to show it, but this Korok right here is one that they have not collected. So they're going to have it be guided to it. However, with this Korok here, they've already collected. So it's like kind of blurred out with the background. But they have not collected this one, so it's like more colored in here. So they do the voice guidance. This feels like Google Maps type of AI voice.
It'll provide a helpful voice guide.
Your destination is more secure and close. Your destination is above.
But the fact that it keeps adjusting to your movement, like it knows where you're moving, it knows where you're looking, and it goes over everything that you can collect. I've collected them all. Yeah, all 1,000? You collected all 1,000 of these? All 900 in Breath of the Wild? That's crazy if you have. But with this collectible system, this navigation app, it can tell you everything you're missing that you can collect. So Skyview Tower, the shrines, the light roots, all the caves, the stone slates, the cherry blossoms, the hieroglyphs, which I'm not going to spoil if you haven't played the game.
Give it a try to search for all sorts of things.
Including, here, you know what, Stevie? Now I know you're lying because you haven't done this. This is a new thing. See? So now we have the voice sector of My Study, I Found a Silent Princess. How many years?
These are stories that weren't in the original games. Voice memories can be located using navigation.
So now using the navigation system, what is this? This Tears of the Kingdom? Yeah, so in Tears of the Kingdom, for example, you go to climb to the top of the dueling peaks, and you would get this little voice memory. So now I know you're lying, because you didn't get all of these. You didn't get all of them. You didn't get the voice memories. What are the voice memories?
Plus,
Yeah.
in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, you won't just hear stories from Princess Zelda.
This altar is considered the most holy place in Nintendo.
You can look forward to hearing stories from 2 other characters as well.
So let's go back here. So these will be these voice memories or things that you haven't discovered yet. Like if you haven't discovered one of those device dispensers, they would all be marked as question marks on the voice guidance navigation app. But once you do discover them, it will immediately become the icon of what it is. So it's a voice memory of, what do you know, Master Koga. So now it's updated from the question mark to the Master Koga icon here, here, and here. It's the afterlife.
In The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, you can freely create your own vehicles and weapons.
Audible sharing.
Have you ever wanted to share your creations? With auto build sharing, you can create QR codes.
So here we go. So what you do is you would hover over your auto build. So like I said, I have the perfect hover bike. I want to send it to Zelda Notes. So now I would go in the app, and then now it would be listed here. You can have up to 60 of these. You can favorite them, and up here you can probably remove them. But you can then give the QR code to whoever.
When receiving the QR code, you can scan it with Zelda Notes and use materials to auto build the creation in your game.
And then, in the game, you would go into the auto build menu, you pull this up, you would hit plus to receive the Zelda Note, and then it would come to the game and have their own Zelda Notes icon on the auto build.
Another thing you can do with QR codes is give in-game items to other players.
So what you do is, let's go back, you go on the auto share icon, so you hit deposit, withdrawal, or can't, wow, I was spot on with that, wasn't I? You would click deposit, and it would bring you to the materials option, you would bring it to the weapons option. I don't know if, I believe bows and shields are supported over here, I can't see, but armor I believe would not be, and one other thing over there would not be supported. But then, once you are done, you would hit the what's it called, plus button to deposit, and then you would send it to Zelda Notes. And I did not see it. There you go. You can have up to 100 items. Okay, yeah. So you see all. So you can only send materials, weapons, bows, shields, and apparently rupees. We now have an online banking feature in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So there are no longer excuses for you to be poor. You can send up to, I believe, 10 items a day. This is based off of the Nintendo Treehouse. You can send up to 10 items at a time, but you can have up to 100 items on the app in item sharing.
You can receive a QR code. Then another player can receive it in their game via Zelda Notes.
So then you would, claim it. So let's say my sister just starts Tears of the Kingdom, and she's like, can I borrow one of your more overpowered weapons so I wouldn't have to worry about, dying over and over again? Or, like, more enjoy the story of the game instead of doing the combat system. You would give her an overpowered weapon, and she could just steamroll to the beginning of the game. And just enjoy more of the narrative side of the game.
With Photo Studio, you can edit photos taken in-game.
So you can send it to Zelda Notes. So you would go into the map option. You would go to album, and right here in the bottom left, you would go to selection mode. So you push in the left joystick, and you would select an image, and it would go into Zelda Notes. And basically, you could change the aspect. So you can zoom in, you can crop it, you can delete stuff, and all that kind of stuff. You can put the image of it, of the game, so like the icon for the original Legend of Zelda icon. You can have the Tears of the Kingdom icon. You can also have an icon, which I don't know if we know of yet, but you can put your QR code. So remember that QR code that I was talking about? I can put it here, the auto build. You can also, you can share it with somebody. You can save it as an image on your phone, or just delete it. My play data. So this is what I was referring to before. So like, look, weapons collected, materials collected, treasures opened, rupees collected. Stevie, I bet yours is gonna be 999 all the time, isn't it? Because if you got everything, you would have the Zonai ability. Oh god, Zonai abilities used. It's gonna be like max. as well as with the stage powers. Oh, Toolin.
iPlaydata keeps track of different records since your adventures began, such as the number of enemies you've defeated.
That's correct. Yep.
You can even
And even get medals. So this is probably their version of achievements in that game. So Citizen of Hyrule probably for doing side quests in the game. Monster's Bane, obviously killing them. Treasure Hunter, getting treasure. Material Collector, kind of obvious. Weapon Collector, kind of obvious. Wealthy, kind of obvious, getting rupees.
earn medals based on your records. Aim for new medals and gold.
Distance Tracker, this is what I was referring to. So getting walking a certain amount of distance. So only went 120 kilometers. Well, you got the bronze version, but if you go 200, you get the silver version.
Total distance traveled or rupees collected.
Are you gonna get? So you have 50,000. So you're gonna be able to get the gold immediately.
With global play data, you can see where your records rank within the global community.
So local community. So this is, I believe, your play data. So your achievements are the quests and adventures cleared. You did 50 of them. So you did 58 shrines. I did 152. I did all of them. Haha. But
On top of comparing your data with other players around the world, you can also see your gameplay trends.
so it's pretty cool.
Once per day, you can spin for a daily bonus. You'll be granted whichever.
So you can see all of them. So like the rapid ones I was talking about. Bow repairs is new. You know, the glow effect, fireproof, so the fire guard effect, speed up.
Game effect lands on for the day, so give it a try. Good luck.
So in here you would hit activate health. So the game knows. The game knows what ability you got. Because it says activate health recovery. What did they get?
You'll be granted
Health recovery. So the game knows which one you got. So you will know what it is. And amiibos. So here we go.
Amiibo can be used to receive in-game items. Zelda Notes keeps track of each amiibo you scan. When you
Right here. If you scan this amiibo 4 more times, you'll be able to scan it an additional day the same day. So, what is it? On the 5th today, I could scan it on the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th, I can scan it twice. And it tells you the date it was released, it tells you what it looks like, what it looked like in the box.
you scan an amiibo
Good
5
stuff.
times, you'll get an additional bonus use of that amiibo that you can normally only scan once per day. Upgrade your adventures in Hyrule on Nintendo Switch 2. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
So, this is same day of launch day, June 5th, both available physically and digitally. So if you bought the game physically, you would be able to buy the upgrade pack digitally at like a retailer, or I'm assuming on the eShop maybe. But if you don't have Breath of the Wild, which I would be shocked if you don't, or if you don't have Tears of the Kingdom, you can just buy these two, versions, and you get the benefits immediately. No upgrade pack required.
Nintendo Switch 2 edition.
But if you have it digitally, the game, you'd have to probably buy you would have to move the Breath of the Wild, for example. Let's say I bought Breath of the Wild digitally on my Switch 1. I would have to move Breath of the Wild from my Switch 1 to my Nintendo Switch 2, and then buy the upgrade pack to then have all these enhancements from Zelda Notes and the performance and all that stuff.
If you already own the Switch games, you can upgrade to Nintendo Switch 2
See?
edition
There we go.
purchasing upgrade packs. Or access the upgrade packs at no additional cost.
Or if you, like myself, are blessed enough to have the expansion pack membership, you can get these for free.
With a paid Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack membership. Plus, these new amiibo figures will also be available.
On launch day. So you would get these new paragliders. So with the Zelda Loftwing amiibo, for example, you could get the custom paraglider cloth of what looked like the sailcloth from Skyward Sword. Same thing here. The respective Sage amiibo will have the glider. And you see where it says right here, game footage not final? This means that this is going to be an update. Like an actual update that you would have to download from the internet on your Switch. So there is going to be a later version for this game. After version 1.2, whatever. So then there's the Gerudo one. So more things. See, I bought Breath of the Wild once on Wii U. It sucked. Not buying it again. No matter how many times you re-release it. New games or remakes of top classics, yes. Ports of the same game over and over, no. So people have their own opinions. My family and I, we bought it on the Wii U. We absolutely enjoyed the game. It was great. Me and my dad both 100% the game. We got all the Koroks, all the shrines, all that stuff. Now, since we have it on the Switch, we could now play it again, or continue playing on our 100% save file, and get all the voice memories and all the achievements that are now being added. Welcome tour. I'm not gonna talk about. Should have been packing. It's $5. But that is pretty much it. I've talked about the Switch 2. I've talked. With the Nintendo Switch 2, when you buy it with the box or with Mario Kart, it comes with these. I'm gonna call them accessories. You get the Nintendo Switch 2 console. So this part right here, the tablet, you get the Joy-Con 2 controllers. So you get Joy-Con 1, you get Joy-Con 2. You would get the Joy-Con 2 grip. So not the charging grip version that has like the transparent kind of sides. It's the same thing that you had for the Switch 1, where you would slide in the rail and just play it. It will not charge the Joy-Cons. The Joy-Con straps. So the orange and blue strap that you would put on the Joy-Cons, you would get that too. The Switch 2 dock, so this part here, you would get the ultra high speed HDMI cable, so the cable that you plug into the dock from your TV to use dock mode. The reason why I think they called it ultra high speed HDMI cable is because they didn't want to call it what version HDMI cable it was, because yes, there are different versions of HDMI cables. This will do probably the 4K 60, the highest it will do. This also comes with the Switch 2 HDMI AC adapter, as well as a USB-C charging cable. So I believe it comes with these two, are like the bundle thing where it comes with the brick and it comes with the cable. So that is everything you get with the Nintendo Switch 2. If you get the Nintendo Switch 2 bundle with Mario Kart, you get everything here included, as well as at the very top it listed the Mario Kart World downloadable code. So you would go on the eShop and you would put in the redeem code and you would put the code in and you get the game. Simple as that. But that is everything that comes with. Is there any questions that you guys would like me to go over? I am about to hit 3 hours, and if there's anything, please let me know. I will chill here on the screen. If there is anything you'd like me to look up, if there's anything you'd like me to repeat, please let me know. But very informative. Thank you very much. Yeah, of course. I tried to with the release season, I was watching so many videos of like all the misinformation, and with everything coming in at such a fast time, I wanted to try and be as descriptive as possible, but try and be as informative as possible, because there was a lot of stuff going around, a lot of misinformation going around, especially about the Mario Kart game. But there is going to be a waiting period for us in the United States, me included. But honestly, I'm fine with waiting, because while yes, I think the Nintendo Switch is a good price, as said by Rebecca, mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm not gonna buy it yet, because there's probably gonna be a bunch of issues in the Switch operating system, which is basically, you know, how the eShop works and how all that stuff. I want all the reviews to come in first, and then determine what I think is best for myself, but also my family, because, you know, it's a Nintendo console. with all the Nintendo games that we've had over the years collecting and playing together. So would it make sense for me to buy a Nintendo Switch? That comes to the time whenever it comes out on June 5th. So I won't make my decision until at least July 5th, a month after the Switch comes out. The Switch 2 comes out. But I'm looking forward to this launch season of Nintendo. It was very unfortunate the time that they had announced the trailer or the direct of it, because it literally came out right when the tariffs came out. The only really gripes or issues that I had in this direct, well, the game chat was fine. The screen sharing is fine. The audio coming from the other people, I couldn't tell if that was coming from the Switch itself or if the people over here had their own audio. So I didn't know how the audio quality is. I've been told it's not very good from the Treehouse, where it sounded very hollow. Like, it made their voices sound very weird. But the only gripe, like I said, was this being paid. Game chat being paid. I don't think it should be paid. But I understand why they did, because you're using game chat online, talking to people that's not near you. So it uses the online server that they have. But I do like how they are giving you the experience of right here, the open grace period. It's essentially a grace period of you have until March 31st of next year to use game chat and experience it at no additional cost. The other big gripe that I had was the Nintendo Switch welcome tour. I do passionately believe that this game should have been a pack-in game. And by pack-in, I mean it's a game that came with the system when you buy it. Like, right out of the box, you would go on the eShop and be able to download the game for free. Like, it's a game that's being treated as a manual. That it should have been pack-in. But everything in the pack, the where is it? The update pack or the upload pack or whatever they called it. I want to see if I can find it. Right here. Right? Oh, and Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2, July 24th. So a week after Donkey Kong Bonanza. So this was another that I had, another gripe, because while I do understand having to pay for the upgrade pack for the DLC content, I believe it's kind of weird to pay for the visual enhancements. Like, you're paying the $450, $500, whatever one you're getting, to be able to have the better frame rates and the better resolution. So I think that's a bit of a question mark for me. But everything else I seemed fine with. Zelda Notes was cool. Dragon Drive was cool. We're getting arms. We got arms for Switch. I saw this from another video. But we got arms for Switch 1. And now we have no legs for Switch 2. That's a bad joke. But someone pointed out and I thought it was kind of funny, so I thought I'd point it out too. But some of these games are really nice. I'm looking forward to Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment. I played Age of Calamity. I'm 100% at Age of Calamity. Besides some backtracking that I thought was kind of annoying in the game, I absolutely loved it. So I'm very looking forward to this. I don't know if this is going to be a Switch 1 and Switch 2 release. I think it's only a Switch 1 release because they didn't say a Switch 2 edition. But everything else I felt was, fair. Even though GameCube should have been on Switch 1 as well. But other than that, that is pretty much it for me. I will, for the next day, be going in the comments and trying to reply to them and answer the questions that may come up. I'll be replying to you guys, seeing if I can help. If there is a video that a comment that may warrant a video, I will see if I can do that. But other than that, I appreciate you guys hanging out, asking questions, figuring this out with me, because, you know, it's the good and the bad and everything informative that I can think of regarding the Switch 2, the Switch 1, and its update of the virtual cards. But I will be wrapping it up there. Everyone have a good rest of your day, and I will probably see you in the next one.